Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the second day of Office of Education, 경상북도 World Citizenship Education International Youth Forum today. This is Sejin Kim again, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. 여러분 안녕하십니까? 오늘 행사 진행을 맡은 아나운서 김세진입니다. 반갑습니다. Welcome back, and thank you so much for your warm welcome. There will be a simultaneous interpretation will be provided for the session, so please tune the channel 1 for Korean, channel 2 for English, those of you who need it. That'll be helpful. Okay, all right, Global Citizenship Reporter Program. Okay, all right. Let me explain to you about how to use the simultaneous interpretation system in Korean. 네, 오늘 이 세계 시민 리포터와 오후에 있을 SDGs 학생 국제 포럼은 한국어와 영어 동시 통역이 진행이 됩니다. 의자 위에 있는 동시 통역기를 사용을 해주시고 리시버를 1번으로 한국어, 2번에 영어 채널로 맞추셔서 본 행사에 참여하시면 보다 편리하게 행사에 임하실 수가 있겠습니다. At this time, we will move on to the real program. The Global Citizen Reporter Program actually invites the native speaker teachers working with the 경상북도 School District to speak on the SDGs education being done in their home country. So let me introduce our teachers that are here, and we really appreciate them because they have volunteered to speak to us today. Okay, first we have Charlie Wilkinson from England. Can you please stand and wave to everybody? Thank you. And he's a teacher at the Korea Global Business Master High School. All right, we also have this person is all the way from Ulleungdo, everybody. So please give a big round of applause to Pearl Abosi from South Africa. She's a teacher at Ulleung Middle School. And for our last speaker, we do have Zia Meza from the United States. Please welcome him. Okay, we're very excited to hear from them. Each teacher will take 3 minutes to present, and we'll be having a Q&A session. Excuse me, more than 3 minutes, you're welcome to take that. And the Q&A session will be open for everybody. So those of you who ever has a question, you're always welcome. And you can ask questions in Korean, so please feel free to ask any questions you may have after the presentation. Okay, first, I would like to turn time over to Charlie Wilkinson from Korea Global Business Master High School, and he will be presenting to us. Okay, everybody, please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome. Thank you for inviting me here today. As our announcer said, my name is Charlie Wilkinson, and today I'm going to be talking to you about bridging the gap and raising the bar. So the UK initiatives, what the UK is doing to try and achieve SDG 4, quality education. So by bridging the gap, I mean, what is the UK doing to help those who aren't receiving a quality education, to bring them up to the standard of quality education, and raising the bar? What's the UK doing to improve education further and achieve new levels of excellence in education? So a brief overview of my presentation today. That will be around 15 minutes. I'll begin by a brief introduction about myself, and then I will talk about the current state of play in the UK. So what's education like in the UK at the moment? We'll talk a little bit about what is SDG 4, quality education. Then we're going to go into what the UK is doing. So how is the UK bridging the gap, working on access to education, and the link to SDG 1, poverty and education. And then we'll talk about raising the bar. So what's the UK doing for innovation in education, international collaboration, and education for sustainable development? So a quick bit about me. Like I said, my name's Charlie, or Charlie Teacher. I teach at Korea Global Business Meister High School. I teach English and Business English. So I also teach the middle school and elementary school in Gampo. So the city I'm from in the UK is Norwich. So it's kind of like the Gyeongju of the UK. It's near the coast on the east, except we've got a good football team that you might know, Norwich City. I'm a law graduate from the University of Nottingham, so my major was law. I also spent some time at the National University of Singapore studying business and Southeast Asian culture. One thing to know about me is I'm a big volleyball fanatic. So if you're from Gyeongju, you might see me around as I play for a local volleyball club here, the K Volleyball Club that you can see in the picture there. Okay, so what is SDG 4? So for me, SDG 4 is the key to unlocking all the sustainable development goals. So quality education can reduce inequalities. So education is unique in that it can bring people together from different backgrounds, different religion, creed, different ethnicities. So education can break down those barriers, reduce inequalities. Education can further gender equality. So for instance, getting females into schools, into STEM subjects, so science, maths, engineering, and those roles will be vital to the future, vital to developing our planet and working to a sustainable future. But also, furthering gender equality is for everyone, so also trying to get boys to stay in education. Many boys, especially in poorer countries, may leave education to provide for the family. So gender equality is also about making sure people stay in school. Quality education can also foster tolerance between people. So we want to be inquisitive and interested in new cultures. We don't want to be naive or scared of cultures we don't know about. So education can help those broaden their minds and become global citizens. Quality education can also help break the cycle of poverty. So not just in the financial and economic sense, but also education can help one with their cognitive and social and emotional education, which can lead to a more successful life and can help bring those out of poverty and increase social mobility. Quality education always boosts economic growth, so an educated workforce can be a more successful one, and ultimately its economic growth and finance the funds the other SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So an educated and skilled workforce is of course very important to economic development. And SDG 4 also can help empower sustainable lives. So I think Professor Reardon explains SDG 4 very well in this quote, that education it's like a lifelong pursuit of knowledge. It's a lifelong journey of learning. Learning doesn't stop in school. And it's about applying what we learn throughout our life. Okay, so looking at the state of play in the UK. So the UK places very high importance on education. You can see a quote here from the former Development Minister, Vicky Ford. She states that without education, countries cannot progress into other sustainable development goals. So this is the government voicing the importance of education in the UK and the world. So how is the UK at the moment in education? Well, the UK has a 99% literacy rate, and the UK is currently 4th in the OECD reading rankings. So the UK is in quite a good position at the moment in terms of the education of the country. To get that fourth ranking in primary reading, there was something called a Schools Hub program, where they trained specialist teachers how to teach reading at a higher level, and then model schools would mimic those learnings to spread better quality teaching across the country. You can see in this first graph in the top left, however, spending on education in the UK has been decreasing, as you can see in that graph. So although the UK is in a good position right now, it's a bit concerning that the money being spent is getting lower. So in the future, what that means for quality education is that it might be at risk. If we look at this graph B in the bottom left, you can see it has the average literacy level of younger people, so 16 to 24, and older people, 55 to 65. And you can see the UK, the skills gap is very, very small. So the younger people and the older people have a similar level of literacy level, which you might think is a good thing. It means everyone has a similar education. But if you think about it, this indicates that the UK might not be progressing, because if the older generation has the same level of literacy as the younger generation, then education might not be improving. If you compare to Korea, you can see Korea is the top one. Their younger generation is a lot more proficient, a lot more skilled in literacy than the older generation. So that indicates that Korean education has been improving and progressing. The UK, in fact, was the only country in this study that had the older generation performing higher than the younger generation. So in every other OECD country, the younger generation was doing better. And finally, if you look at this bar chart, the green and red bars, UK spending on bilateral aid, so money going to other countries for education, you can see that's also been decreasing. Even though the UK is the fourth or one of the biggest spenders for bilateral aid, it's a bit concerning to see that going down. So that's the state of play. That's education right now in the UK. Now, if we start talking about bridging the gap, so improving education for everyone. So some schemes, some initiatives that the UK are doing. One example is the apprenticeship levy. So this is a scheme where the biggest companies, they pay a tax, so they pay money, and this money can only be used for apprenticeships, which is practical training like engineering or woodwork, more practical skills. So in 2022, 99.6% of this money was used. So this indicates that there are more high quality apprenticeships, high quality training, but also a bigger number of apprenticeships. So this is increasing the access to education in the UK. If we look at this graph, this shows people aged 16 to 24 who are not in education, not in training, or not in employment, a job. So you can see the trend is going down, slightly going up in 2021, potentially due to COVID. But overall, it's been decreasing. So that shows that schemes like the apprenticeship levy are succeeding in getting more people into education, more people into training. And also, there's been a COVID recovery in further education, so university. This has risen by 4.3%, so 4.3% more people have been going to university in 2022. So this shows that we're increasing the access to education. So quality education and poverty are quite naturally linked. So of course, poverty is a very important sustainable development goal. And UNESCO said that if world poverty could be cut in half, if all adults completed secondary education. So this is almost 500 million people. So that's a big number. I believe we're a bit short on time, so I might run through the rest of my points. You can see here on this graph that the average poverty rate has been decreasing in the UK, but in northern cities, poverty has been going up. So this is concerning that the poverty rate is increasing just in the north. And as you can see, students in London have been receiving more money. So this suggests inequality between the north and the south, which is not good for quality education. Just quickly, innovation in education, so raising the bar. The UK has spent a lot of money on an EdTech innovation program. So this is money that goes to companies to try and create new technology to make education easier, so teachers have more time to teach, but also to increase access. So StudyBugs helps parents in faraway locations engage with schools. So innovation is very important to boost quality education and improve further excellence. Sustainable development should be taught in schools, should be in the curriculum. Like I said, education is about lifelong learning and applying it throughout your life. So it's very important to have globally conscious citizens, not just in school, but in local communities, so that we can think about the environment when we work, when we innovate and make new products to try and help our environment. So education for sustainable development is very important and key. And finally, international collaboration also helps us push the bar further for quality education. Working together, different universities across the world, working together is how we're going to make education better. No country can do it alone. Okay, so that's my time for today. If you have any questions, I believe we have time later on for questions, or you can send any questions to me by email. It's just my name, so feel free to do that. Good luck in all your studies to students. 감사합니다. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Charlie, for a wonderful presentation. We really appreciate that. Okay, next. Our next presenter is Pearl Abosi from South Africa, and she is a teacher at the middle school, Ulung Middle School. Okay. All right. Okay, let me check first before I turn time over. Yes. So the next presenter. Okay. So before Pearl Abosi's presentation, we will have then Zia Meza for the next presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a round of applause.
Test. 안녕하세요. Hello, everyone. It is good to be here. Thank you for having me. Today, our topic will be about sustainable energy and sustaining the oceans in the United States. But first, a very quick introduction. My name is, like you saw, Zia Meza. And I grew up inside of Texas, Houston, Texas, actually. I grew up there, and my family and I have a bunch of pet chickens you can see right there. We don't eat them. They lay eggs for us, and they are our family. I also am a teacher over at Gimcheon Middle School, Apo Middle School, and also Geryong Middle School, all inside of the Gimcheon city area. Now, as an English teacher, it is always good for me to encourage people to listen to, speak, and practice English. So this presentation will have very understandable, very simple English. And I encourage you to try and listen to it without the translation if you would like to practice your English skills. Now, SDGs, also known as the Sustainable Development Goals, are part of what the United Nations wants to encourage all of its countries to do. That is, there are 17 different goals. And so every country is supposed to focus on getting all 17 goals accomplished. Two of the goals that this presentation will be about are these: affordable and clean energy and life below water. That means, one, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy. Or, in more simple terms, we need to invest in wind energy, water energy, and any energy that isn't from gas, coal, all of the very dirty energy, things that give a lot of pollution, we want to avoid. The second SDG, SDG 14, Life Below Water, is about conserving the ocean, about making sure we don't fish too much, about protecting our sea, about keeping our waters clean. How is the United States doing? That's what this presentation will be about. How is the United States doing? What will the United States do? First, let's look at this chart over here about the current state of energy. The United States has made incredible progress on getting rid of coal as a main source of energy. Coal is an incredibly dirty form of energy that heavily pollutes the environment. But take a look at this chart over here. Coal production in 2011 was extremely high, the highest it ever was. But now in 2023, it's at 50%. The United States has cut its coal production, energy-wise, in half. 50% of coal plants have been shut down. And by 2030, 66% of them will be gone. 2/3 of the coal power plants in America will be gone, replaced by sustainable energy. That's really encouraging. Wind energy is the primary reason for that, but also solar. To understand how big the difference is, consider this. In 2011, solar and wind energy were only 3% of all of the energy that America was making. But in 2021, they now make up 14%. And if we continue this pathway, based on the data, the United States will have 33% of its energy from wind, solar, water, and all of the clean energy. That's a massive change in only 30 years, right? That's an incredibly fast rate of improvement. We also have very ambitious plans. For example, consider that the cost of solar energy is planned to be cut by 60%. It's like getting almost like a 1-for-1, a 1+1 over at your convenience store, right? You get one for the price of one because you are getting twice as much energy for the same cost you previously did. And there are goals to make renewable energy 35% of all energy by 2030. But some states aren't satisfied with this. They want to do even more. California already makes 59% of its energy from clean energy. And you know what California says? California says we're going to make that 90% by 2035. That's their goal, and they are on track to meet it. In fact, to understand how important that is, consider that California has 1 in every 9 American in it. It's the most populous state in the country. And so if California hits that goal, America is on track to have lots of clean energy in the future. So energy-wise, the United States is doing pretty good with this Sustainable Development Goal, this SDG. How about with the ocean? Let's see. This chart shows us how much of the ocean is being protected by the United States, how much they are keeping clean. Back in 1990, only like 1.79% was protected. We didn't really care about our oceans enough. We thought the ocean is so big, why do we need to protect it? We will never run out. Now in 2023, we understand that the ocean is not invincible. The ocean can die. Our fish can be killed in an amount that we can't fix. And so now in 2021, 28% of the United States ocean was under protection. That is making sure that people don't fish too much, that they don't dump trash into the water, and that it is kept clean. Now, the United States is continuing to protect so much water that they are the fourth largest protector of their water. That is, only 3 other countries protect more water than the United States. If I remember correctly, I think the United Kingdom is one of them also. So the United States has placed a very, very big focus on keeping the ocean clean and making sure we can continue. President Biden actually said, we're going to make that 30% by the year 2030. In fact, more than that, President Biden told us exactly how much money he will do, because it is important to not just say something, but to do it. And so he invested $10 billion into conservation efforts in order to protect the oceans. If you need that converted, I think that's 13 trillion won. That's 1,300,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000. It's a lot of money, and more than anybody has done among any presidents for protecting the ocean. That's really, really encouraging news for all of our fish. To finish off, the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon was speaking at the Climate General Conference and reminds us, if we can't all swim together, we will sink. There is no plan B because there is no planet B. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. What a great and inspiring presentation that he has shared with us. Thanks again. Okay, our last presenter for the first session of today, we will turn time over to Pearl Abosi, who is a teacher from Ulung Middle School. And please welcome her on the stage with a round of applause. And after her presentation, we will have the Q&A session.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Pearl Abosi, and I'm the teacher at Ulong Middle School and Ulong High School. So today, my presentation is on education and development in South Africa. So yesterday, we heard one of the speakers speak about the link between the SDGs. So, and today, Mr. Wilkinson spoke about how if education is not realized, it's difficult to think about all the other goals that follow. So most of the goals are basic human rights. So I think it's quite important that as we move down the list, a lot of states have to get in check, and especially in realizing the goals before 2030. Okay, so these are the 17 goals, and today I'm going to focus on 6 of them, which have to do with the realization of sustainable livelihoods in Africa. So the first one is, of course, no poverty. That is what the goals aim, that all citizens around the world can live sustainable lives. And then goal 4 is quality education, which is the foundation for everything. And then 5 is gender equity, which a lot of states are working towards. And it's an international drive, but at this point, we still have a long way to go. And then goal 8 is decent work and economic growth. And 10 is reduced inequalities. And 17 is partnership for goals. So all these are a foundation for education and the provision of education to live sustainable lives in Africa especially, because in Africa, when you start to talk about the goals that go further down the list, people are like, we don't have the basics or the fundamentals. So how are we supposed to think about global warming or climate change when we can't live sustainable lives? We have no food in our bellies, we are not educated, a lot of things are difficult. So also goal 17 is quite important because that's where developed states, for example, like Korea, and their advancement in education is where we sort of need to bridge the gap and have partnerships where you guys as students can liaise and meet with other students in different forums around the world and exchange ideas. So this is an overview of ongoing challenges to meet the SDGs. First, there's increased government spending, so that it decreases the amount of spending that can go into the realization of development. Then primary and secondary school completion rates are rising, but that's only in developed countries. And the COVID-19 pandemic caused losses of 4 out of 5 of the 104 countries studied. So during the COVID pandemic, it opened our eyes to a lot of inequalities in education around the world. Then the world is not on track to achieve gender equity because in lower income countries, there's still a lack of decision-making power over sexual and reproductive health and rights. And this also happens at the moment in developed countries as well. So there's global unemployment. Global unemployment is expected to fall, but this, again, excludes low-income countries, where 2 billion people are in jobs without social protection. And a quarter of young people, like Mr. Wilkinson mentioned earlier, are not involved in education, employment, or training. Okay, and then there's a change of between-country inequalities, and this was also apparent during the COVID pandemic, and many countries are facing debt crisis. So their contribution to other countries has really dropped, and this is also due to ongoing conflicts that we have going on right now. Okay, so these are some transformative action that was laid out by the UN. So what heads of states need to do, they have to commit to the next 7 years of accelerated, sustained, and transformative action, and they have to come up with targeted policies so that we can achieve these SDGs. And I think one of the most important things, again, is to strengthen partnerships between developed and low-income countries so that we can realize some of these goals. So when I was preparing for the presentation, I interviewed some government heads of government to find out what they're doing about provision of education and realizing some of the goals. So here I asked, which initiatives are you working on to provide young people with high quality education? And they mentioned the national government plan. And in this plan, teachers are provided with ongoing training and after school programs, as well as the financial aid services, National Student Financial Aid Services, which enables students to go into further education and training. And then policies to ensure decent work and economic growth for young people. And they offer graduate programs with work experience and internships as well. So there are two kinds of internship, graduate interns and student interns. And a very important thing is vocational training, because not everybody can enter higher level institutions. So there are work-based learning and that lead to nationally recognized qualifications. And this is available for people between 16 and 34 years. So for example, in electrical engineering, construction work, mechanic, being a mechanic, hairdresser. So in vocational skills that can later on be transferred into employment where you are in charge of your sustainability. Okay, and then advancement in gender equality. The government again has a national policy framework which most institutions have to follow. So, and in most of these, women are priorities. Okay, I'm trying to run through because we have some activities that we have to get through. Okay, so with stakeholders and partnerships, I think NPOs and NGOs do a lot of important work. So I spoke to Ms. Emilia Nate, and she heads Step Forward projects. So what she said is, we believe that a single action can make a difference in the community, and the collection and that collective action can greatly impact the world. So they train in vocational skills as well, and things like clothing design, beauticians, hair design, photography, barista, those kind of things that can help people to take care of themselves and take care of their family. And then she says, we take a holistic approach to development. So they not only train in vocational skills, but health and wellness services to combat communicable diseases, financial literacy, which is very important, and life coaching. So I think the foundation for the SDGs, yesterday we heard one of the speakers speak about education. So that is one of the foundations. We have to educate people about how to realize the SDGs, what they can do about it as an individual, because we can't sit back and say, okay, it can be taken care of, because it takes everybody to make an individual choice and take individual action for the goals to be realized. Okay, so that is my presentation. And so I think you've heard so far, I don't know how many, whether today's your first day or you were here as well yesterday, but I think you have learned a little bit about the SDGs. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a Kahoot quiz where we have 15 questions. So they're going to pull up the pin, and then can you please join in? And let's play. Remember to put in the pin and then to put in your name after, and we will announce the winners of the podium when we're done. Okay, because of time constraints, when we get to about 50 or 60, we can start, and you guys can join in at any time. Okay, let's go. Okay. So the SDGs relate to, what do they relate to? which countries are tasked with realizing the goals? Right, all countries, of course. There is no exception. Okay, this is a South African question. What age groups can participate in learnerships? Yes, 16 to 34. They are considered the youth. Okay, how many SDGs are there? Just in case. Okay, good. Okay, it's SDGs. Sustainable development is supported by 3 pillars. Please look carefully. Stock markets, banks, companies? Okay. Okay, what is the deadline for achieving the SDGs? Oh, according to some people, we still have time. That's great. And then, when were the SDGs adopted? Okay. Okay, so we've come to the end of the quiz. Let's look at the podium and see who are the top 3. Okay. Okay, well done, guys. Everybody's a winner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pearl, so much. And the quiz program was really fun as well. Thank you once again. Okay, everybody, at this time, now I would like to open the floor for everybody that are here to have a Q&A session. So we would like to invite all the 3 teachers to come up to the stage and have a seat. And those of you that are here, I kindly ask you to please think of the questions that you want to ask. Okay? Can somebody please check how much time that we have? 네, 저희가 질의응답 시간을 갖도록 할 건데요. 네, 5분 정도 질의응답을 갖도록 하겠습니다. We will have 5 minutes for the Q&A session. Okay, the floor is for everybody now. Those of you who ever has questions, will you please raise your hand? Any question? From the students, from the workers? Anybody? Be brave. 역시 질문 있는 친구들이 있을까요? 한국어로 질문하셔도 좋습니다. 네, question. By the way, all 3 of you has the interpreter?
Oh, we don't have.
You don't have?
모두가 함께 참여할 수 있는 지속 가능한 발전은 없을까요?
Did you guys get that?
I apologize. We didn't actually
That's
bring
fine.
it.
Okay, so he was asking, is there any way that everyone can be involved in what you have shared today with us?
Sure, I can start off with that. I think being involved with energy means that you do anything that consumes less energy, and I think a lot of people here already do that. Don't leave your heaters on too much. Don't leave the lights on when you leave. Don't leave appliances on when you're not using them. A lot of energy is just a collective thing, right? By ourselves, we can't do that much, but all together, we can work to change how much energy we're using, and we can start working to incorporate more clean energy as a result. But really, just talking about clean energy, knowing that it helps the environment, wanting to protect our nature, that's enough, honestly. Just talking about it, encouraging people. The mindset is more important than the actions almost.
Thank you. So he was asking, is there any way that everybody can be involved for the sustainable development? And I hope that your answer was helpful for him. Do you have more things to say, Misa? No?
I could
Anybody
add to
else?
that. I could
Sure,
add to that, yeah.
please.
Thank you for the question. I think in terms of education, put simply, sharing what you learn in school, sharing what you learn here, not just between students, but older generations as well. Education and learning is for everyone, right? So if you share what you learn about sustainable development, or what Mr. Meza shared, to try and educate people you meet in your life. So using what you learn in school, using what you learn here, and sharing that with as many people as you can.
Thank you. Okay, any more question? Yes. Can somebody pass the microphone to her, please? And I'll try my best to translate that.
네,
for you too.
안녕하십니까. 저는 석족고등학교 교사 최한래입니다. 제가 드릴 질문은 저 영국에서 왜 특별히 나이 든 사람과 젊은 사람의 리터러시 레벨을 비교했는지 그거에 대해서 궁금합니다.
So she was asking from the England, 영국의 그 사례를 말씀하신 거 맞으세요? 다시 한 번만 말씀 주시겠어요?
영국에서 그 에듀케이션에서 리터러시 레벨을 올드 피플하고 영 피플 이렇게 비교를 했던데 보통은 남자, 여자,
네네.
도시, 시골 이렇게 많이 하는데 어떻게 해서 무슨 특별한 계기가 있는지 그게 궁금합니다.
So I think that question towards Charlie, since you have shared from the England case, and from your presentation, she says that you have shared about the differences between the older and the younger people, right? Okay, but then why you didn't share the status between usually because when they're talking about that topic, usually between like man or woman, or 여자와 남자도 도시하고 농촌, 네네, or the countryside or the city. So why you have shared that? Will you please?
Okay, so that study focused on the age group because it was trying to show how the level, the quality of education was changing. So an older generation, they were in school, university a long time ago compared to 16 to 24-year-olds. You know, they're new to the workforce, new to jobs. So looking at the literacy level between the older and younger generation, it can show, is education improving? So are the younger people receiving a better education? In theory, when you're fresh from school, you know, you should be well educated and you've just received the education very recently. So the idea is that if the older generation and younger generation are quite close together, then education might not be progressing and improving. Whereas if there's a big gap, like Korea had, it shows that education is making good progress and the younger generation had a very much higher level of literacy. So that's why that study and I talked about the difference in age groups. I hope that answered your question.
네, 충분히 질문에 답이 됐으면 좋겠습니다. Okay, well, because of the time, I think we have to wrap up at this time. I'm sure that there are still questions that all the people might want to ask about the SDGs education, Isan, but because of the time, I think we have to wrap up. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hands to our teachers who have shared their presentations today.
Thank you, thank you.
Sincerely thank you,
you.
the teachers, for preparing presentation and also the answering the questions. Okay, please remember to leave your interpretation receivers on your seats, and the teams who are participating the SDGs Student International Forum in this afternoon, please stay here in the event hall by 12:50, and we will have the rehearsal right after this program is done. Okay, everybody, thank you for your participation. We'll see you later. 네. 네, 감사합니다. 함께 해주신 여러분 고맙습니다. 저희가 이제 잠시 후 1시간 정도의 시간을 갖고 이어서 학생 국제 포럼을 진행하게 될 텐데요. 포럼에서 발표하게 되는 친구들은 앞쪽으로 오셔서 리허설에 참가해 주시면 되겠습니다. 저희는 점심 식사 후 1시쯤에 다시 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 여러분 고맙습니다. Welcome back, everyone, to the 2023 경상북도 Office of Education Global Citizenship Education International Forum. My name is Sejin Jisal Kim. I'll be the MC for the session of today. Welcome again. Okay, there will be a simultaneous interpretation provided for the presentations. So every seat should have the receiver for the interpretation. You can set the receiver to channel 1 for Korean and channel 2 for English. So use the receiver. 네, 오늘 행사에서는 이 통역 서비스가 제공이 됩니다. 테이블 위에 올려진 이 통역기를 사용해 주시고요. 채널 1번으로 맞추시면 한국어를, 채널 2번으로 영어 이렇게 본 행사에 참여하실 수가 있겠습니다. 2023 경상북도 Office of Education Global Citizenship Education International Forum opened yesterday with a dual language speech presentations, followed by the opening ceremony, SDGs expert forum, and the annual reporting session for international relations. And Global Citizen Reporter Program was held this morning, and we had 3 wonderful teachers that shared a presentation for us. And SDGs Student International Forum will be the last event. SDGs Student International Forum aims to strengthen the global leadership skills of Gyeongbuk youth through providing them an opportunity to share, discuss various topics of sustainable development goals. So this year, we are focused on Goal 13, Climate Action, and Goal 15, Life on Land. A total of 21 teams and 16 from Gyeongbuk and 2 from Daegu and 1 from Uzbekistan and 2 from Seonyang, Korean and international schools in China will present for us today. And they will be divided into 4 groups of 5 teams, and there will be a short Q&A session after each group finished the presenting. Okay, so we will now begin the 2023 SDGs Student International Forum. Before we start, we do have a special performance prepared by Uzbekistan students, so please welcome them on the stage with a big hand.
Okey.uz
Ey yaranlar ey Bülbül dilim sayrap durar Cismi canım yayrap durar Şükranalar aylap durar Şunday zamanlarını körep Davru davranlarını körep Hey yaranlar ey Şunday zamanlarını körep Menden aldın şaşıp keter Kırgavıdan taşıp keter Kaşı kemanlarını körer Mahı tabanlarını körer Neyge gurur get olmayın Rağımdan örgülmeyin Yükselgen asmanlar sayın Tağdek kırmanlarını körer İstedik kanlarını körer Yigirmege kirgen ükem Sen hiç kimden emezsen kem Navkıran ben bugün men ham sendek oğlanlarını ko'rib mardu maydonlarni ko'rib yurt yashnasa yashnaymanda yurt ishqi bor joni tanda zavqqa to'lib kuylaymanda asl insonlarni ko'rib aziz mehmonlarni ko'rib asl insonlarni ko'rib aziz mehmonlarni ko'rib hey yoronlar ey shunday zamonlarni ko'rib davru davronlarni ko'rib
Ekskluziv OK.uz.
Thank you, girls, for sharing your culture with us. I know it's not easy to be in front of hundreds of people, but we really appreciate your performance. Okay, we will go ahead and start by having the pledge to the flag first. 네, 본행사를 시작하기 위해서 먼저 국민 의례가 있겠습니다. 모두 자리에서 일어나 앞에 있는 국기를 향해 서 주시기 바랍니다. 몸이 불편한 분들께서는 네, 자리에 앉아서 예를 표해 주시기 바랍니다. 국기에 대하여 경례. 바로 모두 자리에 앉아 주시기 바랍니다. 네, 그럼 본격적으로 본 행사를 시작하도록 하겠습니다. As we have many teams presenting today, we ask you to please stay within your allowed time limit of 5 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for elementary school students and 7 minutes for the school presentations as well. Okay, we'll start with the first presentation by Park Ha-eun from Gyeongbuk Science High School. Everyone, please give a big hands to Park Ha-eun for the first presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Helen Park and I'm from Gyeongbuk Science High School. So this picture shows the World Summit of worldwide country that gathered together to discuss about climate change. As a teenager who knows the urgency of climate change and who has a conviction toward it, today I'm gonna uncover about the SDG number 13, climate change, and also a game changer for it. So recently, world leaders gathered in Dubai and talked about climate action. The top priority in the conference was the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. What do you think of when you think of greenhouse gases? And what do you think the highest account for the greenhouse gases will be? Obviously, it is the carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is such an important resource that we have to keep eyes on. The reason for that is because carbon dioxide have a significant impact on ocean acidification. So it is well known that the ocean organisms absorb nearly a third of the carbon dioxide we emit, and this comes at a cost to the ocean when it dissolves in the water. So if you look at the trend line of the surface ocean pH level, it decreases from 1985 to 2020. On the contrary, if you look at the atmospheric concentration of CO2, it decreases from 1985 to 2020. The more pH level decreases of the ocean, the faster of the ocean acidification ongoes. All things considered, we can conclude that the concentration of CO2 have crossed the limits of ocean itself to capture the CO2 from the atmosphere. And this is a serious problem and we have to focus on. Because if the ocean acidification ongoes, the surrounding of the marine lives that have adapted beforehand will be in danger and be threatened by the unprecedented changes. This is the reason why we have to focus on the tidal flats. So tidal flats is an area where sediments from the river inflow and other kinds of things have gathered together, mud or sand. The point that we have to focus on is the lives in the tidal flats. The creatures that live in tidal flats actually absorb enormous amounts of carbon dioxide. This is the reason that we have to protect tidal flats. And also, according to the statistics from the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, it is known that the salt marshes, mangroves, and seagrasses that live in tidal flats and also wetlands have decreased enormous amounts of carbon dioxide, which means the carbon burial in this graph. And so it is certain that we have to protect these kinds of things and also attribute to the conservation of these all kinds of tidal flats. But actually, the point is we're losing the tidal flats even in this moment because of the ongoing business of destroying or changing tidal flats into lands. So, the thing that I thought was that we have to protect or point out the problems, the reckless movements toward the tidal flats, destroying it, and ask people about the responsibility for this. Now I suggest another solutions for the climate emission. Kelps and algae are underwater sea grasses that is living in the ocean. These kind of things also absorb enormous amounts of carbon dioxide. And by all kind of this, I suggest a solution based on the ESG, which is the supporting framework of the SDG in the UN. In the part of protection and conservation, I thought of it as an environmental effort. So environmentally, we have to keep track of the protection and strengthen the conservation of tidal flats and all sorts of resources that I have suggested. In the social part, I think we have to improve the social cognition about the blue carbon. Blue carbon is the resource that I have introduced until now, which can be called as kelps, seagrasses, and tidal flats. If the improvement goes on, this will make the people to notice that we have to protect it. And also, blue carbon can be not polluted by our reckless movements. Governmentally, well, I think as a student, I suggest contribute to the policy-making process and emphasize the importance of the responsibility toward environment. And there are also technologies that is developing to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And recently, the Ministry of Environment has announced about this technology, and we have to focus on it. So, lastly, I would like to tell you a big idea. If you look at the pyramid of the whole ecosystem, we can see that the seagrasses lives in tidal flats or the producers. If there's something abnormal happens to the producers, they could not play their own role, and this will make the whole ecosystem to be ruined. and we're in the top of it. So I think it's very important to notice that we have to protect all those kinds of things like blue carbon, and also recognize we are in the top of the pyramid, that is danger of seagrasses. So lastly, I would like to end this and close this presentation from the remark on COP28. It is, dare I say, an obligation, not a choice, to reduce climate emissions, boost climate resilience. By emphasizing the climate crisis, we have known that our world is interconnected, interdependent. To meet global challenges, we must have global collaboration. And our endeavors for the global collaboration will be between our worldwide countries and citizenship. Obviously, this will change the world. Please keep in mind that our small efforts can change the world. The earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. Thank you.
Okay, our next presentation is by Daegu High School of International Studies. Please welcome them.
Hi, Gangmin.
Hi, Enzo.
Do you know what capitalism is?
I don't know, but it kind of make lots of problems here.
Hey guys, what's going on in here?
Hi, Gyujin.
We're talking about the capitalism.
I get it. Today, world economy is based on capitalism, an economic system in which capital is owned and controlled with the goal of infinite accumulation of the surplus value generated in the production process. However, it leads to an inevitable imbalance between those who have and those who do not, and also extreme environmental destruction. Therefore, we're going to talk about what ESG management is, how it can fix problems caused by capitalism, the value it brings to the society, and suggest solutions to increase its consumer awareness and interest.
In theory, capitalism aims to promote economic freedom. It encourages individual creativity through free competition, fostering democracy and a culture that respects each person, benefiting society as a whole. And in Korea, the capitalism has been true for a few decades. However, capitalism has also downsized. It concentrates on production in the hand of few capitalists, which leading to income inequality. And it contributed to climate change due to endless economic growth, according to IPCC. It said that it is extremely certain that the net effect of human activity since 1750 has been one of the main causes of global warming. And people are aware of this and starting to voice about their concerns. In the report of WFM's Global Risk Report, it says that in the long run, it will face the limits of survival, such as failure to mitigate climate change and failure to adapt to climate change. And people are now aware of this and starting to voice about their concerns. They want the solution that can somehow balance their desire for economic freedom while wanting to protect their planet from further harm. And ESG management has emerged as a possible answer for their prayers. So what is the value of ESG? First of all, ESG serves as a concrete way to help us realize the sustainable development goals. It helps companies to transform the goals set forth in the SDGs into daily business operations and simultaneously improve their value. In this way, ESG seeks to achieve harmony between environment, government, and society, prioritize ethics, values, free competition, fostering democracy, and strives to achieve worker safety. And in this situation, the goals of ESG and SDGs are aligned. The companies that prioritize ESG will going to play a key role in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Also, ESG has huge impact on daily business operations. The companies leading the global are now increasingly refusing to do business with suppliers who are not actively participating in ESG. In the context of the centralized supply chain, the companies that are not actively participating in ESG may find themselves without no consumer basis. Here in South Korea, the government are requiring companies to disclose their key information to the investors.
Despite the fact that ESG seems like an ideal solution to realize SDGs, it still have limitation. The biggest failing is that consumer awareness of ESG is low. While many companies are eagerly introducing their ESG management, the 6% of consumers are not familiar with ESG management. The MZ generation, who will be the main consumer group in the future, have particularly low awareness of ESG. According to UN, low public awareness is the biggest problem that companies face in integrating the SDGs into their business practice. According to this study, the majority of consumers want companies to provide simpler information about their governance as a part of their consumer support policy. The company needs to communicate the component of ESG through more accessible media like infographic to make it easier to understand. It is also necessary to improve not providing information. Most domestic companies provide sustainability report. However, it has issues of transparency and understanding. Few companies report on negative aspect ESG and limitation. Even if sustainability report, it doesn't help make decisions as it only focuses on positive aspect of ESG. The government should regulate the content of ESG report and force companies to declare various aspects, improving the effectiveness of information given to consumer.
Actually, videos can also be used to raise consumer awareness of ESG management. Just like the example that you can see, Samsung Electronic Service has been uploading its ESG Stories, a series, has received more than 21 million total views. So utilizing video media is an effective way to promote accessibility and can help improve consumer awareness of ESG management. Especially for younger audiences who are more familiar with video and media, it may be more effective to use videos that can be accessed in an easier way rather than simple educational or written media. So disclosing a company's ESG management strategies through new media outlets such as YouTube and other internet sites are likely to be a very effective way to promote ESG. Additionally, investing in greater advertising can also be an effective way to build consensus among all age groups on ESG management. This paper suggests that when public's exposure to ESG is increased by investing in advertising, it can help improve people's attitude towards ESG management. And additionally, it was also necessary to adapt the language and the topic used in adverts to target young people specifically. So the final solution that we suggest for ESG is education through experiencing and exploring. Edutainment, which is education plus entertainment, is a tool that enables effective education by spontaneously triggering learners' motivation to learn through games. This paper analyzes a case designed to combine VR technology and education. The creator invented a game to identify English words, and HMD, which is head-mounted display, and joysticks were used to maximize the user's immersion. So just like this paper is showing, we can try effective gameplays so we can propose a similar solution for ESG, just like this paper is showing. These games can be used effectively to engage students into more to the topic. Then students can experience lots of themes related to it, such as impacts on consumers and businesses, challenges faced by companies, and real-life ethical consumption, all within virtual reality games. Then students can gain practical knowledge about economic cycles by exploring ESG companies in its virtual environment. And they can apply this understanding to practice ethical consumption in the real life by setting criteria and comparing different products. Therefore, we believe that edutainment with VR and AR technology will allow young generations to engage with it in a more effective and engaging way.
Capitalism has brought benefit and challenge to our society. ESG can address this problem, pursuing their business profit and SDGs. However, it still have limitation, particularly low public awareness, especially among young MZ generation. To tackle this, it is important to enhance young generation understanding of ESG. So, we suggest these 3 solutions. First, present information in consumer-friendly format. We have to share the good, the bad, and the ugly aspect of ESG. Second, use video to raise understanding of ESG. Third, promote ESG education through VR and AR edutainment. Students show strong interest in hands-on experience and exploration. The key to activating ESG lies in consumer demand. Only when consumers are interested and informed can ESG create a sustainable economy and social value. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The students from Gyeongbuk Daegu High School of International Studies. Okay, we'll turn time over to our third presenting team for the first group of the session today. The presentation will be by Gyeongbuk Foreign Language High School.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are from Gyeongbuk Foreign Language High School. I'm Minju Ryo, and this is Goon Jung. First of all, it's an honor for us to be here and to be able to attend the International Forum on Global Civic Education and Youth to build sustainable goals together. Through this opportunity, we'd like to introduce the current situation that we're taking on Korea's Sustainable Development Goals and the machines that we helped design for goal number 13. 2023 is a year of the midpoint of 15-year period foreseen to achieve Sustainable Development Goals, a development compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, adopted in September 2015 by all stage of United Nations members.
Throughout the history of ours, the climate has changed. However, the current warming trend is clearly a result of human activities since mid-80s, the Industrial Revolution. Since then, human beings have started to affect the Earth's environment directly. We have now reached the point where we have to deal with the environment issues surrounding the planet. These changes inevitably fuel environmental degradation and natural disasters, weather extremes, food and water insecurity, economic disruption, conflict, and terrorism. However, we are unprepared to react. That is why Goal 13 is important. Annually, 1.3 million people were killed and 4.4 billion injured due to human impact of geophysical disasters. Promote mechanism to raise capacity for planning and management. This is the target 13.5 our team concentrated on.
Now we have to ask, is Korea doing okay with Action 13? The answer is no. In 2023, July recent research, Climate Action Tracker rated South Korea policy and action as highly inefficient, which indicates are not at all consistent with Paris Agreement. If all countries follow South Korea policy's approach, warming could reach over 3 and up to 4 Celsius. This is a serious situation, and I quite feel ashamed as Korean citizens. According to Ministry of Environment, having adults in their 20s and 60s in Korea solved 20 quiz on common sense for recycling separation, the average score of the respondents was less than 54 out of 100. That is why we felt the need to set standards for discharging recycled products in an easy-to-understand manner. The reason why only 30% of the recycled waste can be recycled is that it is difficult to identify with human eye, and that is why it cannot be recycled properly. Which is also the reason why we designed this deep learning scanner. You can easily and simply receive information on whether discarded products are recyclable. When all the separate collection products are taken to camera and recognized like this, the screen equivalent to machines tells you how to separate the products, and the lid of the separate collection trash can is open wide, and even the carbon reduction is displayed. Separation behavior can be more actively induced through narrator support, such as plastic water bottle labels must be removed separately. This enables accurate separate discharge, which can lead to high economic benefits for environment and of recycled resources. In order to increase people's participation, deep learning scanners are given benefits to people who collect them separately, or with the help of government a little bit, they are given benefits that can be substituted for their lives by engaging in, such as in apartment bills. By creating My Data AI platform, it analyzes the individual separate collection type to inform the weight and the load emission, and also the carbon reduction as well. It also tells the process of separating plastics collected by individuals going back to recycled products. And the chart shown in the slide right now shows that individual action can contribute to actual social contribution. It can do many things, such as informing you about the benefits of segregation.
To increase its visibility, we received several feedbacks. According to our survey of 100 people at different ages, more than 90% agreed using DLS if it is implemented near their house. Based on the survey result, 3 environmental policy ideas were conceived and proposed the virtual City Hall, Ministry of Environment, and Korean barcode system to investigate feasibility and received many positive answers. There may be several problems making DLS, but considering the importance of primary screening, seeking, and organizing solutions, it's worth trying. When we suggested ideas to the Korean barcode system to investigate its feasibility, we received feedback that it is sufficiently feasible if we use deep learning scanners and barcodes. We also requested feedback for a non-face-to-face household waste treatment service called GO to give positive answers.
Lastly, we have to be aware that climate change is the most significant problem facing the world today. If we don't do anything to prevent it, our world will face undesirable consequences as soon as possible. Like Barack Obama said, the former president of the USA, we are the first generation to feel the effects of climate change, and the last generation who can do something about it. Climate change is real. It is happening right now. Although we have devised LSD for the environment, the most important thing is the sense of practice that we must have as global citizens. Thank you for once again allowing us to be here, and we hope the remaining forum will help strengthen the capacity for the meaningful youth global citizenships. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We will continue on. Next up is the secondary school number 30 from Urgench, Uzbekistan.
Good afternoon to everybody. I'm from Uzbekistan, study in 30 school in Urgench. The ancient city of Tashkent is country's capital, Tashkent, the country's capital city and one of the largest in capital Asia. Located in the eastern part of Uzbekistan, Tashkent is architecturally and historically significant due to its transformations during and after the Soviet period. Today, I'm going to present you our view of one of the global problems of ecosystem in our region. The Aral Sea was one of the largest enclosed bodies of water in the world, with an area of 68,000 square kilometers, and a water volume of 1,083 cubic meters. Its lake was 426 kilometers wide, 284 kilometers depth, 60 8 meters. The Aral Sea zone was of a region with a wide variety of flora and fauna. 38 species of fish and a number of rare animal species lives in the reserves of the Aral Sea regions. The number of sausages reaches 1 million hence. The floristic composition was 638 species of hydroplants. The diversion began in the 1960s, and by 1969, the Lance's settles imagery showed that the northern southern half of the sea had already become virtually spared. The dry seabed is now known as a saline desert South Aralkum with a total area of 38,000 kilometers cubic. There are about 113 billion tons salt on the drained bottom of the Aral Sea. The storms increase spreading the salty soil right into agricultural lands. As agricultural lands become contaminated by the salt, the farmers try to combat it by flushing the soil with huge volumes of water. What water makes it by back to the sea increasingly salty and polluted by pesticides and freezing. The loss of moderating influence of such a large body of water made winds colder and summer hotter and drier. It is almost impossible to turn the sea to its former blue color, but with the help of the green Aral Sea, in which still we are striving to turn into green, first by planting saxouls at the bottom of the dried Aral Sea. At the initiative of President Shavkat Mirziyoyev, at the stated program for forest reclamation development of the drained bottom of the Aral Sea was development within the framework which 1.62 million hectares of protective forest plants have already been created. Saxoul and other desert plants, covering the now life space of Aralkum, will consolidate the sands and readers wind erosion. From Seoul to Uzbekistan, young inventors have come together to solve one of the world's most serious environmental problems, the Aral Sea problem. As part of the UPSHIFT bootcamp, Uzbek and Korean youth jointly develop innovative solutions and have a positive impact on the environmental and many other social issues. Let's support their effort and inspire for young people to join the movement for a sustainable future. We hope that successful cooperation of our republic will help in solving this terrific issue. Friendship and cooperation will overrule all troubles. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We will move on to our last team in this group. The presentation will be by Gyeongsang Science High School.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hall Ro, and I'm an 11th grader at Gyeongsang Science High School. Perhaps many of you here today have heard about how pollutants are affecting our marine life. However, what many people are unaware of is how much these pollutants are affecting our terrestrial environments, which is why today I'd like to talk about how microplastics and antibiotics in our wastewater sludges can affect the terrestrial environment. For this topic, I'd like to start by talking about how pollutants enter our terrestrial environments, what effects these pollutants can have, the types of these pollutants, and what we can do to prevent this situation. So let's get started right away. How do these pollutants enter our environments? Well, a major path for these pollutants into our terrestrial environments is through the deposition of contaminated soil, such as wastewater sludges. These sludges refer to a semi-solid residual byproduct of wastewater treatment. These sludges may contain contaminants that are harmful for the environment, which is why when we dump them into the environment, they can cause various problems. So let's look at some of these problematic components of wastewater sludges, starting with antibiotics. Antibiotics are a type of medicine that kills or inhibits the growth of microorganisms. However, while these antibiotics do their work, something called an SOS reaction happens in the bacteria. You can think of this SOS reaction as an emergency signal. And through this SOS reaction, antibiotic-resistant bacteria can form. And this antibiotic-resistant bacteria are dangerous news, especially for our seniors and people with immunodeficiency, because we cannot treat these bacteria with the regular antibiotics that we possess. So what can we do to solve this problem, you may ask? I believe that we need to redesign our wastewater treatment systems. And I believe that we can do this through sugars. The most common type of antibiotic that we have are called beta-lactam antibiotics. And these beta-lactam antibiotics contain something called a beta-lactam ring. These beta-lactam rings can be broken down by sugars at a high pH solution. So I conducted an experiment to see if this would really work. On the left is a solution with only penicillin, a widely used type of antibiotic. And on the right is the solution with dextrose, and after 12 hours, and 12 hours after the solution was mixed. As you can see, the restriction radius, or how far the bacteria grows from the paper disc, decreases by quite a bit. We can assume that this is due to the inactivation of penicillins by the presence of dextrose. How can we implement this into our wastewater treatment systems? I believe that we can do this quite easily. Currently, the first step in our wastewater treatment involves sodium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid. However, by only using sodium hydroxide, we can increase the pH of our waters. And this situation would be ideal for antibiotic inactivation. And by adding dextrose to the solution, we could inactivate any and all antibiotics in this wastewater. And when sludges are created in the sedimentation tank, the sludges would be safe to put out into the environment without the worry of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. And any dextrose left in the wastewaters would be broken down by microorganisms at the filtration stage, which means that the wastewater would be safe to put into our terrestrial environments as well. However, we have yet another problem in these wastewaters. The problem is microplastics. Microplastics refer to plastics that are less than 5 millimeters in length. These microplastics, while small, can have devastating effects. Let's say, for example, a worm consumes these microplastics. When a worm eats these microplastics, these plastics can reduce hydrophobic compounds in the worm that are essential for its survival. And when this happens, the worms are easy target for its predators. But this is not free food for the predators because microplastics are inside the worms' bodies, meaning that these predators would not have microplastics inside of them, causing reproduction and endocrine system dysfunctions. And this would continue down along the food chain and could even reach humans at one point as well. And in humans, the effects can be quite diverse, ranging from the immune system disruptions to reproductive toxicities. And they may even be other effects that have not been discovered yet. So what are we doing right now to stop microplastics and antibiotics from just flowing into our terrestrial environments? Well, one solution that we currently have is ozonation. Ozonation refers to pumping ozone into our waters to oxidize contaminants. However, this ozonation process has two distinct disadvantages. The first disadvantage is that this can be very costly, especially for highly contaminated wastewaters. Another problem is that this ozonation can have toxic byproducts when oxidizing contaminants, which is why I believe that ozonation is not the best solution. I believe that something called a membrane technology works better. These membrane technologies work by filtering out contaminants. However, the only disadvantage to this right now is the fact that these membrane technologies can be very high maintenance. However, many researchers and scientists are working to solve this problem day and night. And I believe that we will have a cost-effective membrane technology soon. However, as you can tell from all of this, the situation with antibiotics, microplastics, and wastewaters is very complicated. But our terrestrial environments do not have much time, which is why we must act now for the sake of our terrestrial environments and for the sake of our health. Thank you for listening.
Okay, everyone. Now you just watched the 5 presentation from the first group. Now, those of you who have questions, will you please raise your hand? We will have a Q&A session briefly. Any questions? If not, we will move on to the next presentation group. Okay. Our first stop in the second group is Seonyang Korean International School. They will be participating virtually. So is Zoom meeting set up for Seonyang Korean International School? Hello? Do I have?
As global environment issues intensify, there is a growing interest in the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. The SDGs represent the largest collective objectives established by the United Nations and the international community slated for implementation from 2016 to 2030, with 17 major goals. Among them, we have focused on the 15th goal, which pertains to the preservation of the terrestrial ecosystem. Currently, the terrestrial ecosystem is facing a crisis to the extent that scientists warn of the impending sixth mass extinction on Earth. Recognize the urgency, we believe it is essential to precisely understand the current state of the terrestrial ecosystem to address this crisis. By reading and analyzing books that emphasize the importance of preserving the terrestrial ecosystem, we aim to gain a thorough understanding of the challenges it faces.
Specifically, I want to talk about a book, ESG for Youth, The Minimum Thing We Should Do Now. It warns that the birth of new mixed-race species due to global warming could threaten the Earth's ecosystem. It also presents a good example for this, the emergence of a mixed-race bear born between a polar bear and a grizzly bear. It's commonly known that polar bears have lived in the north of the Arctic region and grizzly bears have resided in the south of the same area, but this traditional habitat classification has begun to change as the climate crisis has reduced the bear's habitats. The hungry polar bear, which became difficult to hunt for food as the sea ice in the north of the Arctic decreased, went south, and the grizzly bear that lived in the south rose a little farther north due to rising temperatures caused by global warming. Eventually, polar bears and grizzly bears share some territory, and mixed-race bears were born when the two species met and crossbred in the intersection area. The mixed-race bear was named Gola bear, combining the word grizzly and polar. Gola bear has the characteristics of both polar bears and grizzly bears. Since Gola bear's emergence, cases of habitat migration and crossbreeding of land animals due to climate change have often been observed. In response, a research team from the National Mammal Research Institute in the US in 2010 warned this phenomenon in the famous science magazine Nature that certain full species of mammals in the Arctic will be in a situation of crossbreeding due to climate change. The outbreeding depression of crossbreeding is also a threat to the terrestrial ecosystem. The term outbreeding depression refers to a phenomenon with two populations that have evolved ecologically according to their respective habitat environment crossbred to produce descendants with poor ecological suitability. This outbreeding depression is caused by rapid environmental changes, and there is not enough time to advance the biocharacteristics due to breeding between species that did not exist before. And if it continues, it can pose a major threat to the conservation of terrestrial ecosystems. In summary of this book, we take the example of a new mixed-race bear appearing in the Arctic and talk about the threat of crossbreeding to terrestrial ecosystems due to global warming. I learned through this book that in the Arctic, hybrid species such as the gorilla bear are emerging indiscriminately, providing detailed insights into the current state of the terrestrial ecosystem in the Arctic.
In addition to the emergence of a new mixed-race bear, the second concern with global warming is the mass extinction. There are many different ways for living things to live. The creatures which live in this ecosystem is so aberrant that it is very easy to collapse. In fact, it is accepted that this mass extinction is currently underway, and there are ample evidences about this. After analyzing more than 13,000 scientific researches published in major environmental biology journals and at the French National Center for Scientific Research, called CNRS, scientists concluded that extinction is currently underway. Over the past 40 years, more than 400 million birds have disappeared in Europe and over 3 billion in the United States. During the same period, the number of wild animals decreased by half. According to a report on biodiversity by the Intergovernmental
Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, the number of species that have become extinct is more than 100 times that of the early 20th century. For example, in Germany, the number of flying insects has decreased by 80% since 1990. Both the number of species and the population of living things are decreasing. Based on this research, it is clear that extinction is in progress. Scientists call the current state biological annihilation, not only on land but also in the sea. Almost all creatures are in danger. About 1 trillion sea animals lose their lives every year. The cause of the extinction of many living creatures is the indiscriminate and merciless expansion of habitat. To this point, UNESCO has designated biosphere reserves. But since they account for about 6% of world total, they are not enough to protect many living things. Carbon neutrality is also being implemented, but it has fallen short of the target.
In briefly, we have talked about some impacts by global warming based on several books. The emergence of new mixed race species showing exact number of the animals to warn the mass extinction and diversity impact and the effect of habitat destruction. When we think about the matter of mixed race bear, we cannot stop the new appearance of crossbreeding anymore. But at least we should give it a try to make their living space separate for polar bears of the northern part and grizzly bears of the southern part, respectively. This is because the situation where they share some area as their habitat shrinks by global warming, we can design each area as a preservation zone for the bears. We also need to know that the dangers of this terrestrial ecosystem can cause great suffering to human society as well. Because of the global warming, glacier in the pole melts and it causes the rise of sea level. Also, it can make natural disaster which harm people a lot. Therefore, we should turn off the light when we don't use it and take a bus or ride a bicycle to protect the environment. It is not surprising that the terrestrial ecosystem is threatened by global warming. But what we have to do to achieve sustainable development goals is that we have to keep in mind and act the minimum thing we should do now, like the title of the book we read. Thank you.
Thank you. We will have our next presentation. Next presentation will be by Gyeongsang Middle School.
Hello, I'm Son Kyung-ho, a senior of Gyeongsang Middle School. It's an honor to present the 2023 Gyeongbuk Office of Education's Global Citizenship Education International Forum today. I prepared a presentation under the theme of our efforts on climate change. I'll announce it now. Let me tell you the table of contents on my presentation first. First, I'd like to talk about the case of climate change. Secondly, I'm going to talk about the causes of climate change. And finally, I'm going to talk about alternatives to climate change. First, let me present the case of climate change. The picture on the left shows Korea's expected future climate. As you can see, the temperature is going up. I got a feeling the summer got longer this year and came too early. I also felt the spring and fall almost gone, and it was safe to say that it was short enough. The cause of my experience was climate change. As temperatures rise, this climate change is happening, and now we have to find out what's causing it and try to solve it. Next is the picture on the right. The picture on the right is a picture that predicts the temperature of the Earth, not Korea. If the Earth's temperature increases in this way, the Earth will become uninhabitable. What is the greatest damage resulting from climate change? As you can see, the most serious problems are rising sea levels and desertification. Currently, the Maldives is in danger of flooding due to rising sea levels. Climate change is melting glaciers, and melted glaciers are mixed with seawater, putting many countries in trouble. Also, as global temperatures rise, the Earth's desertification gets worse and worse. These problems are increasingly making it harder for the Earth to take care of creatures. Secondly, I want to talk about the cause of climate change. The two biggest causes of climate change are carbon emissions and destruction of tropical forests. As for carbon emissions, carbon dioxide, which accounts for about 90% of greenhouse gases, is emitted from factories, and carbon dioxide is emitted by burning fossil fuels to produce electricity. This increases the amount of greenhouse gases on Earth, causing temperature to rise. This rising global temperature causes the problem of climate change, as mentioned earlier. In addition, increasing meat consumption is creating grasslands and destroying tropical forests. As trees that absorb carbon dioxide and emit oxygen are turned into grasslands by multinational corporations, their area is shrinking. This phenomenon also increases the amount of carbon dioxide, which increases the temperature of the Earth. Finally, the alternative to climate change. In fact, as I said earlier, when we know the cause, we can come up with an alternative to that. But addressing climate change requires a lot of changes and efforts. So, I'm gonna talk about things that need to change gradually from around us. The first is to reduce the use of disposable products. By reducing the use of disposable products, we can reduce the number of factories that produce them, and we can reduce the amount of carbon dioxide emitted by factories. We need to reduce the use of disposable products that we use casually in our daily lives, such as plastic containers, wooden chopsticks, and paper cups. The second is to reduce meat consumption. This is also closely related to the cause of climate change. By reducing meat consumption, replanting trees in areas that have been turned into pastures that have creating tropical forests, there will be more trees which will greatly help reduce carbon dioxide. The third is improving education on the environment. We may have overlooked it, but the power of education is enormous. We need to teach the problem of climate change in elementary, middle, and high school curriculums so that students who will lead the future are alert to it and they can improve it in the future. The gradual self-recovery of the Earth requires a major change in human civilization. If we stop all of our carbon emissions right now, the Earth will slowly start to recover. But that's not possible in modern civilization. Not only we can come up with measures right now, but there is no one who can take responsibility for it. So, what should I do? Now, many companies, many countries, many coalitions, and many institutions are aware of the seriousness of climate change and are trying to improve it. We're doing a lot of research and taking a lot of measures. But for those efforts to work, it takes individual efforts. In the end, we can improve only if we work little by little in response to climate change. By reducing disposable products, eating less meat, and saving resources, we must show that we can respond to climate change first before they produce countermeasures and research. I will finish my presentation by saying thank you for listening to the long presentation so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next is Gyeongbuk-il High School and Han University affiliated high school in China. And the students from China will be joining us through Zoom during the middle of the presentation.
Climate change-induced ecosystem disruption issues and our response will be the topic as students
as students from Hanan Teachers College High School and Gyeongbuk-il High School begin their presentation on the subtopics of climate variability and rising sea temperatures.
Do I have the presenter on? Can we check the microphone really quick before we start? 네, 지금 중국 허난 사범대 부속고 친구들도 함께 접속을 해 있는 상태인데요. 네, 발표 이어가 주시면 되겠습니다. Please keep going.
Hello, everyone.
With your presentation, please.
We're a student from affiliated middle school of Henan Normal University.
저희는 하난사대 보고의 학생입니다.
Next, we will start our presentation.
다음 발표를 시작하겠습니다.
Today, our team is exploring the world of extreme weather, breaking it down into 4 parts. Understanding what extreme weather is, figuring out why it happens, finding ways to deal with it, and wrapping it all up with a quick summary. Let's jump into it. Imagine extreme weather as a time when our regular weather goes to be crazy, like big storms or heavy rain. Over the past 50 years, we've seen more of these extreme events, especially heavy rain and super hot days. This is a big deal because it messes up people's lives, like what happened in 2021, when Xinjiang faced a lot of problems because of heavy rain. So why does this extreme weather happen? There are 2 main reasons. First, by putting a lot of gases into the air that make the earth warm up, causing strange weather. Second, think of our planet's weather like a game puzzle. If one piece changes, it affects the whole picture. For example, when the earth gets warmer, it makes more rain. Fixing it isn't just about pointing a finger. It's about taking care of our environment, like planting more trees and making sure our surroundings can handle disaster. It's also important for everyone to learn how to stay safe in bad weather. Now, here's the important part. Extreme weather is a big challenge for everyone around the world. We all need to work together to fix it. By doing that, we can make sure extreme weather doesn't cause too much damage, and we can build a future that's safe and nice for everyone. By doing that, extreme weather is like a puzzle, and we all need to work together to put the pieces back in place. Let's make sure extreme weather doesn't mess up our plans and create a future where everyone can enjoy a safe and pleasant environment. Now, there will be an announcement from Gyeongbuk-il High School about the increase in sea level temperature.
The increase in sea temperatures has caused significant damage, leading to the melting of icebergs, which in turn leads to a rise in sea levels and oxygen depletion in the oceans. This increase in sea temperatures not only affects humans but also poses a threat to ecosystems. As shown in the illustration, coral reefs are stressed and decaying due to increased temperatures, leaving marine organisms without suitable habitats. Warm water has the property of absorbing less dissolved oxygen than cold water. This creates an unfavorable situation for underwater ecosystems that rely on oxygen. Larger organisms like tuna and sharks may seek shallower waters in search of more oxygen, eventually becoming targets for overfishing. If climate change continues at its current rate, marine life and even our daily lives could be at risk. Therefore, both societal and individual efforts are crucial in addressing these issues. The government must implement policies to reduce carbon dioxide emissions and promote the use of renewable energy. Improving education programs that enhance awareness of marine ecosystems is essential. By upgrading these programs, citizens can be informed about the importance of environmental protection. On a personal level, individuals should actively participate in government-led environmental education programs and engage in marine conservation activities organized by the government and private organizations. The ocean plays a central part in maintaining the global ecological system, and we must strive to combat climate change until it no longer poses a threat to both the sea and our lives. This concludes our announcement on the issues of ocean ecosystems in the face of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you once again to the Gyeongbuk-il High School and China High School as well, university affiliated high school in China as well. Okay, next is Gyeongsang Amyang Elementary School's presentation.
Hello, I am Bin Jun Che, a 6th grade student at Amyang Elementary School and someone who loves the earth. Have you heard of the term carbon neutrality? You've heard of it, but you don't know it well. Carbon neutrality aims to minimize the generation of carbon by balancing it with the Earth's carbon dioxide absorption, so that net carbon dioxide emissions are close to zero. This therefore prevents further increases in the atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration. So guys, why does CO2 form? The main reason is that it is made by oxygen combining with chemicals released in the air when burning something, such as oil used to drive a car, gas used to heat or cook at home, and coal used in power plants. How can we make efforts to reduce carbon dioxide? Well, first, by saving electricity, turning off the lights, and unplugging all the electrical devices when they aren't being used.
Super shy, but wait a minute while I make your mind, make your mind. 떨리는 지금도 you're on my mind all the time. I wanna tell you, but I'm super shy, super shy. I'm super shy.
Second, reduce disposable products by using tumblers instead of paper cups and using personal containers to reduce the use of disposable containers. For example, at our school, we use tumblers instead of disposable cups to reduce our carbon emission and practice carbon neutrality. Third, by saving water, you can turn off the water while you're washing your body and use a cup when you brush your teeth. Fourth, by reducing food waste and reducing the amount of food you eat. See, it's not too hard to save the earth, right? Our small actions can come together to save the earth. Let's all take small steps one by one and work together to turn an earth in crisis into a healthy earth.
Hello, I'm Park Ha-eun from Amyang Elementary School in South Korea. I wondered a lot while preparing for this speech, such as how sick our planet has become and how much it is hurting. I would like to talk about how our school is addressing environmental issues by implementing carbon neutrality at our school. We have many activities at our school to create an environmentally friendly school. There is a Zero Leftover initiative. We turn off the lights during break time on Tuesday and also take part in plugging. That's what I want to talk today. Plugging is the activity of picking up trash while jogging or taking a walk. At our school, there is a students group called the Green Star Guardians. As one of the members, I pick up the trash around the school. I realized the amount of snack bags and plastic bottles thrown around the school was worse than I thought. But on the other hand, I realized that if each of us picked up just a little bit of garbage they saw, our school and our streets could be clean. The trash I saw on the streets made me think, that if we just put in a little bit of effort and pick up after ourselves, our planet can become clean and healthy. So how about it? Let's we all become the kind of person who picks the any trash up seen starting today. Thank you.
Hello, I'm An Yu Yi, a 6th grade student from Amyang Elementary School in South Korea. Do you know how much food waste is thrown away around the world each year? It's around 930 million tons. This is enough to go around the earth 7 times. Food waste has a very negative impact on the environment. Burning food waste produces carcinogens and carbon that pollute the air, while burying it in the ground leads to soil contamination. Moreover, the critical issue is the methane gas that is generated during the decomposition process of food waste. Methane gas accounts for 30% of global warming cause and increases the Earth's temperature by 0.5 degrees. So, we need to reduce food waste. In order to solve this problem, our school is implemented a program to reduce food waste. It is called Zero Leftover Initiative. By implementing the leftover system and actively monitoring the food we throw away, we can start to consciously reduce the amount of food that is wasted. This helps to minimize food waste. In fact, there is a case where a department store ran this program and reduced the amount of wasted food by 15%. In another case, this campaign reduced carbon emissions by 669 kilograms. This system helps reduce carbon emissions and achieve carbon neutrality, and I hope it will be widely adopted since it will make a big difference in protecting the earth. Finally, a promise I will make and I encourage you to make as well. I will share my mindset of practicing carbon neutrality and encourage my friends to work together to reduce carbon emissions. This way, I can become a person who actively tries to help the environment. A promise I will make and I encourage you to make as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Gyeongsan Amyang Elementary School students gave us a great presentation. We will move on to the last team in this group. The presentation will be by Dongdo Middle School students.
Hello everyone, it's nice to see you all today. It's been a beautiful winter so far. Did you all notice that this December has been warmer than usual? Right, we are Kim Na-hyun and
Woo Ha-kyung
from Dongdo Middle School. Everyone here knows that global warming is actually happening even in this very second.
Yes, we are seeing the temperature rises, the CO2 emission increasing, the weather changing unprecedentedly with all the heat waves and typhoons. And we're having the warmest winter yet.
Meanwhile, at the same time, globalization has been going on and is accelerating rapidly. This huge gust of western wind brought so many new things to so many different places, often affecting the places to a great extent.
And in the middle of these changes, there are us, humans, chanting over our technological development, thinking that our lives are so much better compared to the past.
However, let's look at the statistics. Are we seeing improvements on behalf of the sustainability of our planet?
No, 2 years ago, we had time until 2035. Now, they're telling us we have only 7 years left.
But how? What happened to the fancy solar panels, electric cars, biodegradable plastic bags, and paper straws? If these were actually working, then we would have started seeing progress by now. And there's not even a single temperature drop. Basically, people are just relying on science and technology as a magic lamp to solve all our problems.
The policies and the technologies will not fix anything, but be a temporary solution. We're seeing the trees instead of the forest. Nothing's going to work unless we change the whole thing from the roots. Then what is that fundamental thing we need so badly?
The answer is quite simple. It's just our mindsets that need to change entirely. This is where all the problems of modern society like climate change stem from. And then I came across this book, Ancient Futures, which is about the people of Ladakh and their way of living. Ladakh is a small region in India. And I figured Ladakh society could teach us important values that we all need to learn in order to solve this crisis. Frugality is a cornerstone of Ladakhi values.
To Ladakhi people, frugality is the basis of abundance. This is possible because Ladakhi people are satisfied with what they have around them. They are grateful that they have an animal called Joe to help them with their harvesting. They don't crave for a tractor to do their work much faster. They know that they don't need so many things to live a happy, healthy life. They are grateful, so they need nothing else. Nobody craves more and more like we do.
Our cravings are endless. This is why our resources are depleting, carbon emissions are rising, the earth is heating up, and in turn the climate is changing. We need to learn how to crave less, thus using less energy instead of applying clean energy for our ever-increasing demands.
People from Ladakh will always respect the land.
They never forget the fact that they're borrowing the land instead of owning it. This leads to minimal disruption and extraction. They also recycle almost everything, even for the things that we think are completely useless and worn out, because they consider every little thing that the earth gave them so precious. Ladakhi people make their own clothes and sew them if they fall apart. If the clothes can no longer be worn, they're clumped together with mud to help prevent water from leaking in the waterways. That's very different because we Koreans produce about 434 kilograms of waste each year per person.
Lastly, Ladakhi people know how to live in harmony with nature.
By harmony, I mean the coexistence between humanity and nature, not humans living around nature for personal satisfaction. These people understand how all living things are interconnected and view nature as something sacred. To live in harmony with nature, we need to know how to put ourselves after nature.
Right now, we come first all the time. We always call for convenience and luxuries. However, we should know that it's okay to live an inconvenient life. It's okay to wake up a bit early to walk to school or work. It's okay to buy drinks in plastic. Stop buying drinks in plastic cups.
In closing, Ladakh teaches us important lessons for our industrialized and modernized society. Their principles of using less, respecting the land, and pursuing harmony is what we all should take in. Climate change is happening because of global warming, because of carbon emissions, because of us. Nobody's really freaking out that we're all gonna die soon.
However, we should. We have a nasty habit of thinking that all this climate change stuff is so far away from us. Oh, please, never underestimate the power of nature. It'll be too late to regret. Nature is giving us signals already. This is a call to change our mindset now.
Let's embrace the Ladakhi wisdom for a sustainable future. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. I do appreciate all the presenters in the second group. Let's give a big hands again to all those 5 groups that have presented. Now we will have a brief Q&A session. The floor is for everybody. Open up. 네, 이제부터 Q&A 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다. 우리 현장에 계신 모든 분들 질문 있으시면 손을 들어 표시해 주시면 저희가 마이크를 가져다 드리도록 하겠습니다. 네, 앞쪽에 있는 우리 친구 질문해 주시고요. 어느 초등학교의 발표 또는 어느 고등학교, 중학교 발표에 질문이 있으신지 먼저 알려주세요.
Hello, my name is Sanha Jo from Osang High School, and I have a question for Dongdong Middle School. I would like to ask a question. You said that our lives are wrong, but why do you say that our lives are wrong while we are living a comfortable life and we are materially abundant?
네, 우리 동도 미들스쿨 친구들에게 질문을 했습니다. 동도 중학교 친구들 답변해 주시죠. 한국말로 하셔도 되고요. 일어서셔서 네, 답변해 주세요.
Is materialistic abundance life a real comfortable life? No, I don't think so. Just like Ladakhi people, we can live fully happy and comfortable life without materialistic stuff. I cannot say that our lifestyles are wrong because I'm one of them. Nevertheless, we are living in materialistic abundance, and we just craving more and more, and that leads to some waste. So we have to think our circumstances first instead of thinking of ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. 고맙습니다. Any more question? 또 질문 있으신 분 손 들어주세요. 네. If not, we will wrap up at this time. All right, we will have a 10 minutes break and we'll be back here by 2:48 to start a third session of the presentation. Thank you. We'll see you later. 네, 다시 한번 안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 잠시 후 세 번째 그룹의 발표는 2시 48분까지 착석해 주셔야 참가가 가능하십니다. 2시 48분까지 제자리로 오셔서 착석해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 네, 잠시 후 2023년도 경상북도교육청 세계시민교육 청소년 국제포럼, 네, 그 학생 국제포럼의 3부가 시작될 예정입니다. 장 내외에 계신 모든 분들께서는 장 안쪽으로 이동해 주셔서 자리에 착석해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 잠시 후 SDGs 학생 국제포럼 발표 3부를 진행하려고 합니다. 여러분 모두 자리에 착석해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 네, 다시 한번 안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 잠시 후 SDGs 학생 국제포럼 발표 3부가 시작될 예정입니다. 현장 참가자 모든 분들께서는 자리 안쪽으로 오셔서 이동해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 네, 다시 한번 안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 잠시 후 SDGs 학생 국제포럼 발표 3부 시작할 예정입니다. 현장에 계신 모든 분들 자리로 이동해 주셔서 착석해 주시기 바랍니다. Welcome back, everyone, to 2023 경상북도 Office of Education Global Citizenship Education International Youth Forum. This is Sejin Kim again. We'll go ahead and start the third group's presentation. The first team to present in the third group is Dasan Middle School. Please welcome them with a round of applause.
Hello, we are Kim Jae-min, Yoon Jung-woo, and Lee Woo-jin from Dasan Middle School in Goryeo. Everyone, have you ever heard that the earth is boiling? This is what the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said. Because global warming is getting worse every day. When we heard this, we were curious about global warming and looked into it. Furthermore, we have also investigated El Nino, which is an abnormal climate phenomenon similar to global warming. Today, we will announce what we have investigated so far. Firstly, we will announce the definition, criteria, current situation, and scopes for El Nino. And secondly, we will announce the definition, current situation, and solutions to global warming.
First, El Nino, which means boy in Spanish, is a climate change phenomenon in which the surface water temperature of the tropical Eastern Pacific rises for a certain period of time. In the past, El Nino only referred to turbulence found off the coast of Peru every December. But it became known that it was not a local phenomenon, but a phenomenon that occurred throughout the equatorial Eastern Pacific Ocean, and became a term for a large-scale, high-temperature phenomenon in the tropical Pacific. El Nino's specific definition varies from country to country. South Korea and the US look at sea surface water temperature. Sea surface temperature variations over a moving average of 3 months in an El Nino monitoring area. And the first month that lasts more than 5 months with a sea surface temperature variation of more than 0.5 degrees Celsius is the beginning of El Nino. However, Japan uses sea surface water temperature deviation and 0.5 degrees Celsius as reference temperatures obtained through a 5-month moving average in the El Nino monitoring zone and determines whether it is El Nino or not. Why is El Nino getting attention recently? It is because of El Nino influence on Earth. During El Nino, the Earth's temperature rises by 0.2 degrees Celsius. This is because the temperature of seawater increases, so it spreads faster and further. In addition, it causes the air to rise, become humid, and release more into the open atmosphere. Because of this, 2016 year was the hottest year ever. El Nino is a phenomenon of southern oscillation. That is, a natural phenomenon. So, there is no definite solution. However, what we are aware is that because of fossil fuel-based civilizations, humans quickly emit greenhouse gases, so it causes unpredictable weather. Therefore, we have to crop the effects of El Nino, which is becoming powerful, by reducing the use of fossil fuel, which are the main causes for greenhouse gases.
Let's move on to the next point. The second thing we are going to present is what we have investigated about global warming associated with El Nino. Global warming means that the average temperature of the Earth rises over a long period of time. The Earth absorbs sunlight from the sun and releases it back in the form of radiant heat. And in the process of absorbing and releasing infrared rays, greenhouse gases in the atmosphere absorb and release them again, delaying the rate at which radiant heat passes through the atmosphere and into space. Greenhouse gases that delay heat release have grown since the Industrial Revolution into human activities to extract and burn fossil fuels, a resource created by the barrier of the remains of barrier paleolithic underground. As of 2019, the world's artificial greenhouse gas emissions are about 59 billion tons of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide accounts for about 70% of total greenhouse gas emissions, which are mainly caused by transportation, manufacturing, heating, and fossil fuels. The effect of global warming on the Earth is not just an increase in the average temperature of the Earth, but it causes various problems. This phenomenon increases the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, causing areas with drier climates to expand, such as increasing desertification in subtropical regions, and infectious diseases such as malaria are easily and quickly transmitted in warm climates, making them vulnerable to infection and affecting human food by reducing global crop yields. Global warming was first officially pointed out in the 1972 Rome Club Report. Since then, WMO and UNEP have become increasingly public, saying that carbon dioxide in greenhouse gases is the main cause of global warming. Now, we are going to talk about solutions to global warming. The first way is to develop renewable energy. We need to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by developing hydroelectric, tidal, and solar energy that use natural processes to prevent carbon dioxide emissions. The second way is to manage forest and soil. Trees and plants are a good source of absorption for the absorption of carbon dioxide. To reduce carbon dioxide, forest destruction and destruction should be stopped. Forests should be created and managed.
We need to preserve the planet by preventing climate change, such as global warming, not only now, but also for future generations. I'm glad to present to you what we have researched for the planet. We should always pay attention to environmental issues for the continuous deterioration of the Earth's environment. Thank you for listening to the presentation.
Well done, Dasan Middle School students. Thank you so much. Next up is 포항 제철 지곡 Elementary School. Please give him a welcome, big hands.
Please save my friend, the polar bear. Hi everyone, I am Ho Eun-ho in the second grade of 포항 제철 지구 Elementary School. Everyone, please take a look at this picture. Are you all familiar with this animal? Yes, that's right. They are cute polar bears. Polar bears are one of my favorite animals. A big, powerful white polar bear is such a lovely animal. Not only me, but everyone loves them. Sometimes I see a family of polar bears walking leisurely on the ice on TV. They look so lovely and peaceful. But my favorite polar bear is changing like this. What happened to the polar bears? Today, I'd like to present why this is happening and how we can practice in our life to save polar bear. I will tell you 3 reasons why polar bears are endangered. Firstly, due to global warming, the habitat of polar bears, the ice zone of the Arctic decreases, with global average temperatures increasing due to climate change. Ice in the Arctic region is melting and threatening the polar bear's habitat. This means polar bears will have to swim from sea ice to sea ice, increasing the distance they have to travel. Secondly, due to global warming, polar bears in the Arctic Ocean cannot hunt harmful food such as ring-shaped seal and bear seal. The fish are disappearing. Due to oil spills, and global warming caused by the greenhouse gas industry. Their main prey fish are being contaminated and killed. The lack of food is causing the female polar bear to be malnourished, which results in the lack of feeding and due to instability of sea ice. Polar bears moving to land have few opportunities to hunt, making them more hungry. Polar bears are also often killed when going down to human-populated residential areas due to lack of food. Thirdly, is the indiscriminate poaching of the polar bear by humans. Although hunting polar bears due to human selfishness is illegal, illegal hunting and poaching still continue in some areas. The population of polar bears is decreasing. So, what are some ways to protect endangered polar bears? Fossil fuels are the main cause of global warming and sea ice. We can reduce the use of fossil fuel through the following 5 practices. The first thing is to reduce smoke by using public transport. The second thing is to make recycling and reusing disposable use a habit. The third thing is that we must save energy by reducing unnecessary data waste. The first thing is to protect the clean air environment by planting and cultivating trees. The fifth thing is to reduce consumption of animal products. I sometimes think that I want to see dinosaurs in person. If we do indiscriminately damage the environment and don't protect endangered animals like we do now, there will be a sad future where our descendants can only see polar bears in pictures and museums like dinosaurs today. We should always remember that the earth is not owned by humans. We are borrowing it. Many people will think that it has nothing to do with me, because the extinction of polar bear is a story of the Arctic far away. But we have to remember that if polar bears go extinct, our human life can be destroyed and go extinct together. Global warming and change in ecosystem resulting from human selfishness will be complexly connected to the world as a whole, and all negative effects will come back to humans. Like any song lyrics, which is so that the 5-year-old next door and even his child can feel the world is beautiful. I hope it will be a day we practice even the smallest things in our life, remembering that we have to protect polar bear and the earth well. Thank you for listening to my presentation until now. Thank you.
What a great presentation he has shared. Let's save the polar bears. Yes. Thank you again. Next, we will watch a recorded presentation from second team from Seonyang Korean International School.
你好，我们是沈阳韩国国际学校的学生。
여러분 안녕하세요. 저희는 중국 선양국제학교에 재학 중인 학생들입니다.
저희는 한국인으로서 중국에서 살고 있다는 특수성을 고려해 저희가 살고 있는 샤난 지역과 가까운 내몽고 자치구의 사막화 문제에 대해 이야기해보고자 합니다. 지금까지 내몽고 사막화의 문제는 중국과 한국의 갈등 요인으로만 생각되어져 왔습니다. 하지만 정말 갈등만으로 이 문제를 해결할 수 있을까요? 결국 사막화 문제 해결은 갈등이 아닌 협력과 공동의 노력을 기반으로 한 새로운 시각이 필요하다는 점을 저희가 이번 발표를 통해 알리고자 합니다.
지속가능 발전 목표는 지구를 지키고 평화와 번영을 누리기 위해 2015년 UN 총회의에 채택되었는데요. 그중 육상 생태계 보전은 우리 삶과 정말 밀접한 연관성이 있습니다. 사람은 육지에서 살아가는 생물인 만큼 많은 자원을 육상 생태계를 통해 지원받는데요. 이렇게 우리에게 정말 중요한 육상 생태계가 파괴된다면 사람뿐만 아니라 전 지구의 모든 생명이 위험해질 것입니다. 따라서 우리는 육상 생태계 보전을 위하여 산림을 가꾸고 사막화를 막으며 다양한 생물종을 유지할 필요가 있습니다. 저희는 내몽고 사막화 현상을 육상 생태계 보전의 측면에서 매우 중요한 시사점을 두는 문제라고 생각하는데요. 내몽고는 중국 북부에 위치한 5대 자치구 중 하나로 목축업, 광업 등 천연 자원을 이용한 산업이 매우 발달한 지역입니다. 그러나 최근 급격한 사막화로 인해 이미 영토의 76% 이상이 황무지가 된 상태인데요. 이 사진은 몇십 년 전 내몽고의 모습인데요. 이처럼 많은 생물이 살았던 푸른 초원은 이제 온데간데 없고 황폐한 토양만 남아있어 이제 아무도 살지 못하는 땅이 되었습니다. 내몽고 사막화의 원인으로는 과도한 목축업, 광업 등이 꼽히는데요. 그러나 사실 이 배후에 있는 숨겨진 원흉은 바로 지구온난화입니다. 내몽고 자치구는 지구온난화로 인해서 강수량이 부족해져 결국 토양의 수분이 마르게 되었고 이는 결국 많은 동식물의 생명을 앗아갔습니다. 내몽고 지역의 사막화는 또 다른 문제를 가져왔는데요. 바로 매년 불어오는 황사입니다. 원래부터 내몽고 지역에서 발생했던 황사는 매년 한국으로 불어왔지만 최근에는 점점 더 잦은 빈도로 더 심한 강도로 우리에게 찾아오고 있습니다. 이는 한국의 많은 국민들의 건강상에 좋지 않은 영향을 끼쳤고 크고 작은 경제적 손실을 야기하여 결국에는 한국과 중국 간의 국제적 갈등으로 발전하게 되었습니다. 이 문제의 직접적인 당사자인 중국은 이 문제를 해결하기 위하여 나무 10억 그루 심기 목표 등을 수립하고 크부치 모델과 같은 녹화 사업을 진행 중이며 한국의 정부 역시 내몽고 지역의 단체를 파견하여 초원 복원 활동, 동북아 황사 대응 지구환경 금융 사업, 중국 서부 생태 복원 사업 등 다양한 활동을 추진하고 있습니다. 이러한 활동 등을 통해 저희는 내몽고 사막화를 조금 늦추는 좋은 결과를 낳기도 하였는데요. 그럼에도 불구하고 아직도 내몽고 사막화 문제는 현재 진행형에 있으며 아직 온전히 해결되지는 못했습니다. 이러한 상황에서 아직 많은 한국의 국민들은 내몽고 사막화 문제에 대해 잘 알지 못한 채 대체로 중국을 탓하는 태도를 취하고 있는데요. 과연 이러한 태도로 이 사태를 해결할 수 있을까요? 과연 증오와 갈등이 이 문제를 진정으로 해결할 수 있을까요? 저희의 의문은 여기서 시작되었습니다.
UN 총회는 지속가능 발전 목표를 완전한 달성을 위해 전 세계 사람들의 참여가 필요하다고 말했습니다. 지구상의 모든 기상이변이 그렇듯 육상 생태계 파괴도 지구 전체 생태계의 변화와 밀접한 관계가 있습니다. 이런 상황에서 타국에서 발생하는 환경 문제의 책임을 온전히 한국가에게 돌리는 것은 적절하지 않습니다. 그러나 우리는 사막화 문제를 중국이라는 특정한 국가의 일로만 생각하지 않았을까에 대해 고민해 볼 필요가 있습니다. 물론 중국이 자신의 주권이 닿는 영토 안에서의 일에 1차적인 책임을 갖지만 이러한 시각만으로는 문제 해결의 본질에 다가가기 어렵습니다. 이제는 이 문제를 나라와 나라 간의 갈등이 아닌 우리 모두가 해결해야 할 문제로 인식하여 함께 해결해 나가야 할 때입니다. 우리는 아마존의 정글이 만들어내는 산소를 들이마시고 있지만 아마존 유역 국가들에게 따로 감사함을 느끼지 않고 있습니다. 또한 이웃 나라에서 흘러오는 강물을 마시며 살아가고 있지만 그에 대한 비용을 따로 지불하고 있지는 않습니다. 지구온난화가 야기한 남북극 빙하의 축소로 태풍, 폭우 등 어려움을 겪고 있는 태평양 섬나라들은 지구온난화를 유발한 선진국들에게 원망의 목소리를 높이지 않고 단지 함께 이 문제를 함께 해결하자고 호소할 뿐입니다. 내몽고 사막화 문제도 마찬가지입니다. 우리는 이제 황사가 불어올 때마다 중국을 욕하는 방식으로 이 문제가 해결될 수 없다는 것을 너무나도 잘 알고 있습니다. 앞서 말했듯이 육상 생태계 파괴 문제는 어떤 특정한 국가의 책임도 아니며 그들만의 노력으로도 해결될 수 없다는 문제이기 때문입니다. 따라서 이러한 시각에서 벗어나 함께 해결 방안을 찾고 노력하는 태도가 필요합니다.
저희는 이 내몽고 사막화 문제를 이제 국가 간의 갈등이 아닌 우리 모두가 함께 해결해 나가야 할 전 지구적 과제라는 점을 강조하기 위해 이번 발표를 준비하였습니다. 감사합니다.
Our next up is 경북일 High School. Please welcome them.
Hello, I'm Kim So-yan,
I'm Lee Yun-sul.
a presenter from 경북일 High School. Today, my discussion will focus the efforts needed to respond to climate change and in particular protecting marine ecosystems. Our presentation will follow this sequence. Understanding the current status of ocean acidifications, the efforts needed to address this problem in relation to the perspectives of different countries, companies, and individuals. We will also discuss beachcombing and surfactants and deleting emails.
First, ocean acidification refers to the atmosphere absorption of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into the ocean, which increases its acidity and lowers its pH. Let's examine this table together. As carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases, this harmful gas also increases its absorption rate into the ocean, which causes the pH of the seawater to decrease. Ocean acidification can threaten marine organism survival, like those of which that have calcium skeletons and coral reefs, and destroy marine food chains by disrupting plankton's growth cycles.
Now we will present some solutions to protect the marine environment. First, let me talk about it at an international and national level. Efforts to protect marine ecosystems at the international level are essential. Last March, the member states of the UN concluded their negotiations to establish an international maritime treaty called Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdictions. The treaty's key goals are to designate 30% of world oceans as protected areas by 2030 and limit excessive developments and marine industries. Using these international consultations is a good precedent, and active consultations between countries should continue in the future. Moreover, it's crucial to establish international laws safeguarding the marine ecosystem. However, most international laws are not enforceable, appealing to the conscientious side, global citizens, and ignored for capital gains. To solve this problem, it is important to enact systematic international laws that specify and clarify the obligations needed to protect the marine ecosystems rather than forcing citizens to obey the law.
Moving on to the responsibilities of companies. Enterprises need to run ESG management programs.
It is an acronym for Environment, Social, and Governance, which are the three key elements for achieving sustainability in corporate management. ESG management is essential in current environmental changes that are deeply related to companies' pursuit of profits. Looking at the leading companies in ESG management, Microsoft has proposed carbon negative by 2030, implementing in-house carbon policies where each department is responsible for their emissions. In addition, outdoor brand Patagonia is leading various activities such as 1% for the planet and the Don't Buy This Jacket advertising campaign. It must be implemented based on corporate interests through the initial introduction of cost reduction and ESG awareness spreading programs.
Next, carbon capture, utilization, and storage methods have received a lot of attention as a core technology that could help realize carbon neutrality. This can permanently sequester carbon dioxide underground and converts it into useful substances. Because of this, we should recognize the importance of CCUS and promote related market and industries to CCUS infrastructure by not only developing technology, but also preparing institutional and financial support plans.
Finally, here's what we need to do. Firstly, in terms of individual efforts, we need to reduce the use of surfactants. Surfactants are added to detergent and shampoo that we often use in our daily lives. The more foam the surfactant produces, the better its cleaning power is, but it is irritating to the skin and marine environment. Foam prevents oxygen from dissolving in the water and hindering the purification of aquatic life. So we must use eco-friendly detergent and shampoos. Secondly, clearing emails. If 2.3 billion email users worldwide delete 50 emails each, it equates to the impact of turning off 2.7 billion light bulbs for an hour, which means you can reduce carbon dioxide emissions just by organizing old emails. Thirdly, creating beachcombing culture. Beachcombing involves cleaning up beaches by collecting debris like glass fragments and plastic waste. Beachcombing reduces the amount of microplastic in the ocean because it removes plastics before they turn into microplastics.
Effort must be made now to prevent further environmental damage. Please do not take the earth we live on for granted. Thank you for listening to the presentations.
Thank you, Gyeongbuk Il High School students. That was a great presentation. Next, we will have Changsan Middle School's presentation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Park So-eun from Changsan Middle School. As you know, this summer was especially strange. Simply, it was so hot. When I had to stand outside for a long time, I became angry because of the weather. According to BBC News, this September was recorded as the hottest September for Europe, and the bad weather caused natural disaster more frequently around the world. Even though it was a very hot September when I wrote this, it's already a cold winter. The Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency said the number of people with heat disease has increased by 80% this year compared to last year. Nature, a scientific journal, found that 2 out of 5 amphibians in the world are endangered. Also, the glaciers of Mount Everest are melting quickly. What do these events have in common? They are problems caused by global warming. Global warming creates climate change, such as an abnormal climate, and has a great impact on ecosystem and agriculture. Humans are the main culprits of this acceleration of global warming. and they are creatures that cannot avoid the effect. The way to slow down global warming is very simple. It's about reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Carbon neutrality is currently considered the most representative method. Have you ever heard of carbon neutrality? Perhaps students have heard of carbon neutrality quite a bit from activities in school. Carbon neutrality means that human greenhouse gas emissions are reduced as much as possible, and the remaining greenhouse gases are absorbed and removed to make carbon emissions zero. It is as same as net zero. Eliminating greenhouse gases will decrease greenhouse effect and prevent global warming. My school, Changsan Middle School, practices lots of activities for carbon neutrality. We watch video of the environment on carbon neutrality, and sometimes we also do campaigns. Our school runs a club which grows various plants, and we recycle more garbage by following the Korean separate discharge mark system. Teachers encourage students to use an application called Climate Action 1.5 degrees Celsius through various environmental events. I was also able to gain environmental knowledge and practiced lots of actions to be carbon neutral. Environmental issues are difficult to recognize. The problem is not clearly visible, and the problem is getting worse over a long period of time, so the media does not take it seriously. Moreover, environmental problems are difficult to solve because it's easy to get tired. The less people try, the more difficult it is. There's no sign that the environment is going to get better. People are not interested in it, and there are people who are destroying the environment, so they're making our effort meaningless. Antonio Guterres' UN chief warned that the era of global warming has ended, and the era of global boiling has arrived. I think our interest is the most important key to driving change. I think we should act, not just know. And I believe that minor inconveniences can save the earth. I had always put my worries about the environment behind me because I also wanted my life to be a little more convenient. So I'm going to introduce 3 easy things to do for someone like me. First, put your smartphone on power saving mode and delete spam or unread mail. Currently, the amount of carbon dioxide generated for mail storage is 17 million tons per year. If we do this, we can reduce our digital carbon footprint. Second, please do not throw away the food. Carbon emissions from food production account for a quarter of global carbon emissions. Of course, we cannot get rid of all of them, but if you only make or take as much food as you need, you will be able to reduce the carbon you emit meaninglessly. Third, turn off unused light and unplug electronics. By saving energy wasted in everyday life, we can reduce our greenhouse gases. It's really simple, but it helps a lot to slow down global warming. Of course, there are some things that are a little more difficult. Separating emissions or maintaining temperature in summer and winter, walking or using public transportation for a short distance, and reducing excessive meat consumption. Also, for the environment, there are things that society has to do, like protecting forests or reducing the use of fossil fuels. But even these things that society has to do are impossible if people are indifferent to the problem. I think our interest is the most important key to driving change. No matter how trivial it may be, it can have a big enough effect. If you want to save the environment, why don't you switch your smartphone to power saving mode today? Also, you can recommend people to organize their smartphone mailbox. I believe you will be the wind that changes the earth in a positive direction. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, now we will have the last presenter of third group. And the presentation will be by Seokjeok High School.
Hello everyone, I'm Sebyul Kim, a senior at Seokjeok High School. I'm truly honored to be able to present at the International Forum on Global Civic Education here. And please understand that I'm not good at speaking English. The topic I represent is Goal 13, Climate Change and Response. Then I'll start the presentation. We'll begin with an overview of the current state and severity of climate change. Next, we'll explore the international efforts underway to address this issue. Finally, drawing from my own experiences, I'll discuss practical ways to implement solutions at the school level. Part 1. Earth is in danger. As you know, climate change has emerged as one of the most pressing issues globally. Let's begin by watching a short video.
평균 온도 15도, 산소 농도 21%, 바닷물 염분 농도 3.4%. 지구는 놀라울 정도로 자기관리가 철저합니다. 자기조절 기능을 통해 스스로 최적의 생명체 생존 조건을 유지해왔습니다. 지구의 자기관리가 무너지면 대재앙이 닥칩니다. 산소 농도가 1%만 높아져도 낙뢰로 인한 산불이 70% 늘어납니다. 해수의 염분 농도가 6%가 되면 대부분의 해양 생물이 멸종합니다.
This kind of rate of decrease right here, and we're going to have at some point in the near future no ice in the northern hemisphere in summer. Now that's a very major change that's happened on our planet system.
그런데 해빙의 원인이 과거와 다릅니다. 태양이나 화산의 활동 같은 자연 요인보다는 온난화를 일으키는 온실가스가 북극의 얼음을 녹이는 주범으로 꼽힙니다.
Did you perceive the gravity of climate change? As depicted in the video, should greenhouse gas emissions persist at current levels without reduction, the projected temperature change attributed to greenhouse gas emissions, as indicated by the blue line on the graph on the screen, shows a substantial increase compared to the expected temperature change resulting from natural factors represented by orange line. It is anticipated to surpass 4 degrees by the year 2100. While 4 degrees may seem like a modest increase, elevating the global temperature by this amount entails substantial consequences. If the Earth's temperature rises by 4 degrees due to ongoing climate change, the catastrophic events depicted in the disaster movie Tomorrow becoming a reality is only a matter of time. Furthermore, the video highlights a critical point. Even a 1 degree increase in global temperature results in a 70% surge in lightning-induced wildfires. This is not a simple natural disaster. When a forest fire occurs, the atmosphere's temperature rises, the soil dries, increasing the likelihood of more fires. This, in turn, releases carbon, creating a vicious cycle of escalating atmospheric temperature. Now, Let's examine natural disaster in Asian countries in 2022. There are 81 instances in various forms, impacting 52 million people directly, causing 5,279 deaths, and resulting in $36 billion in economic damages. So, what international efforts are in place to address this crisis? Part 2, efforts on international scale. One prominent international effort is the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement was adopted by 195 countries during the 21st UN Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference of the Parties held in Paris, France. It is an accord without a specified endpoint, aiming to prevent a global temperature increase of more than 2 degrees Celsius. The ultimate goal is for all nations to set and achieve their own targets for greenhouse gas emissions, with the overarching objective of reaching net zero carbon emissions. Efforts to implement the Paris Agreement include COP26, which stands for the 26th Conference of the Parties. COP26 refers to the annual gathering of the parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, since its inception in 1992, when 192 countries participated in the agreement. The conference has been held every year since the adoption of the UNFCCC. Among the significant accomplishments of COP26 is the submission of nationally determined contributions, NDC, outlining each country's goals for reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Noteworthy examples include South Korea, Japan, England, EU, and US. Another milestone from COP26 is Glasgow Climate Agreement Declaration. This declaration encourages countries to take decisive actions within their respective domains through declaration of representative decisions. This mechanism empowers nations to make more effective and proactive strides towards achieving the goals set forth in the Paris Agreement. Part 3, efforts made at our school. Now, let's delve into the efforts at the school level. To address the challenges of climate change, we have adopted the theme of Carbon Neutrality Project. Carbon neutrality, defined as balancing greenhouse gas emissions with the Earth's capacity to absorb carbon dioxide, aims to achieve zero net carbon dioxide emissions. I initiated a Carbon Neutral Club, collaborating with students who shared an interest in climate change. While students were going to school, we conducted awareness campaigns among our peers and teachers, emphasizing the gravity of climate change and encouraging the adoption of carbon neutral practices. Visual aids, such as carbon neutral signs and banners, were designed to capture the attention of students, while I vocally articulated the principles and methods of practicing carbon neutrality loudly. We also organized the one-person plant planting activity. Each plant was selected with the club members, planted in pots, and accompanied by a growth journal. Witnessing the initial stages of growth, even though the plants were not fully mature, brought a sense of refreshment. Furthermore, our activities extended to attaching informative pamphlets along the corridor walls, where many students pet. We promoted sustainable practices such as consuming the right amount of food without waste. To be honest, Even though I have long known the seriousness of climate change and the disasters it will cause, I didn't make a big effort to respond to climate change. I think it was because I had never been directly affected before. However, by learning more about climate change for this forum, I was able to realize that it made back then. I think that despite the fact that we have been discussing the issue of climate change internationally for decades, the climate problem is still serious because there are still many people like me who are not aware and do not strive for the planet. If each individual makes a small effort for climate change, that small effort, even if it makes our lives a little uncomfortable, will gather and put a huge shield on the earth. David Orr said, "When we hear the earth, we hear ourselves. Saving the earth is saving ourselves. Let's all be alert to climate change and protect the earth and ourselves through various practices." That's it for the presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We will now hold a brief Q&A session. Whoever has questions, will you please raise your hand? Anybody? Yes. Question, please. No question? Okay. All right. Anyone else? Yes. We do have teacher Zia has a question. Can you please tell us who are you asking?
This is just a general question for
Okay,
anyone
all right.
who would like to answer. There's been a lot of really nice research in these really well-practiced presentations. What was that research process like? What was it like finding information? How did they go about gathering what the problems were and what solutions would be best to tackle it?
Okay, so who can answer this question? Any presenters? Here? Okay. So can you please tell us who you are?
I am Ha Ro from Gyeongsang Science High School. And for my research, I read a news article about wastewater treatment plants. And from there, I started researching what contaminants there were in the wastewater. And from that information, I kind of read some notes, some research notes on what research had previously done. And based on that, I conducted an experiment to inactivate antibiotics using carbohydrates. Thank you for your question.
Wow, that was a good answer, isn't it? Okay, anybody else to answer this question? Okay. All right, I think we can have one more last question. Anybody? I guess the presentation was perfect, isn't it? All right. Okay, we'll move on to the last group of presentation and presenters. The first group, the first team is Eisang Middle School. Okay, so we are...
Hello.
Hello. Are
Hello.
you two from Eisang
My
Middle
name
School
is-
students?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Please
Yes,
go
yes.
ahead, your presentation.
Hello. My name is Kim Soo-young. My name is Kim Jung-woong. First of all, I'm so happy to meet you. Today, I'm going to talk about some of my story about the environment. I'm interested in the environment because of recent issues, such as the climate change and pollution on Earth. So this year, I joined the environmental club in my school. My club is doing a variety of activities to protect the environment. For example, we made eco bags with used banners. In, in the club activity, we used these bags plugging in 상주, in 상주. We cleaned the park there. We also made crafts using wood waste. Even though we did it on Saturday, many students and parents took part in the activity. Also, we collaborated with the college students in working on zero waste, which means we produce no waste. As a result of this collaboration, my club could participate in a flea market, which is very popular in our town.
We had an event to reduce food waste for a month in April. I volunteered checking the leftover of food at lunchtime and gave a present to the students who made less food waste. In that period, the food waste of school cafeteria reduced by 30%. Isn't it amazing? In addition, we did campaign activities on Water Day and Sea Arbor Day on the way to school in the morning. Most of the students didn't know that there are such days to protect the earth. We also raised mushrooms using coffee bean waste. Our club ran a booth in the school festival. We had kids games to raise students' awareness of environment. In November, we talked about the environmental issue online with Vietnamese friends in our sister school. I felt very rewarded while doing these activities. And I found that small activities can make the world better. Do you know that we can slow down global warming if we reduce our time on electronics by just 3 hours a day? From now on, I will reduce my cell phone usage time and do more campaigns to prevent global warming. I want you guys to try a very small thing about the environment. I believe your small actions can make a big change. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. I believe that small things can change the world as well. So that was a great presentation. Okay, next up, Gyeongju Girls Information High School students are ready to present us. Please welcome them with a big hands.
Hello everyone, I'm Son Soo-jung. I'm a second grader at Gyeongju Girls Information High School. It's an honor for me to stand here to talk about sustainable development goals as a representative of this generation. What is sustainable development? It's development which can meet the needs of both current and future generations. Based on the Sustainable Development Act, which was enacted in 2008, we defined it as economic development, social stability, integration, and environmental care balanced development. Then how can we join this drive as teenagers? At Gyeongju Girls Information High School, we are being educated on sustainable development goals and carbon neutrality to respond to global warming. Global warming is caused by greenhouse gases, which cover the earth and warm it. They are like a blanket. Carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and the main gases. All of these are the result of human activities like forest destruction, using fossil fuel, and industrial and agricultural processes. Global warming causes heat waves, drought, and sea level rise, destroying ecosystems. We can preserve the environment and save the earth by doing what we can do now. We are responsible for fighting global warming and should keep trying to make a better future. I'm participating in the school activity to upcycle the waste saksuring, which means 양말목 in Korean. To dispose of this waste 양말목, a lot of carbon dioxide is released, which is majorly responsible for global warming. I'm joining an activity where I can make the environment cleaner and conducting the campaign called "Let's Make the Earth Cooler" by using 양말목. Please, I'd like you to visit the gallery of craft works made of 양말목. The wall-like cushions, flower pots, handbag, and soap case. All we want. I think by doing small things, we can make a big difference. In the future, I will fighting climate change by continuing to make various things from reused items. Thank you for listening.
Next is Osang High School.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anha Jo from Osan High School. Today, I'm here to talk about the current urgency of the climate regarding the SDGs. Before we get into the presentation, I would like to introduce the definition of the SDGs and the importance of it. SDG is an acronym for Sustainable Development Goals, and it was chosen as an international pledge by the United Nations in 2015. The SDGs are classified into 17 themes, and they are systematically connected into a singular goal, which is, as mentioned, the Sustainable Development Goals. It was chosen as a pledge to promise peace and prosper for all the human beings by the year 2030, which we barely have 7 years left. I chose to be part of the 13th goal, which is about the climate action. In my opinion, the 13th goal was the most important of all the 17. So, I decided to read a book to help my understanding of the topic. The book is called No One is Too Small to Make a Difference by Greta Thunberg, published in 2019. Greta is an international figure who needs little explanation. She has a reputation that precedes her for her climate activist movements. As you can see, she was also on the cover of the Time magazine as a figure of the year in December 2019. One of my favorite band, the 1975, chose her speech as an intro to their track of their 4th album. The 1975 is known for their socially aware lyrics and their rebellious behavior on injustice. They also chose Greta Thunberg's celebrated speech as a 5-minute intro on their mainstream album. Since then, I was also curious about what Thunberg had more to say about the issue, but never had a chance to dive in. After reading today's book, I finally had a chance to take a brief exploration about what she had done and what she has spoken and what efforts she had done. The portion of the speech was on the book, so I decided to focus on the speech. The speech is called Our House is on Fire. The house she implies in the speech means a home for all Homo sapiens, which is also regarded as the earth. She emphasized that whether government officials and companies act will determine the destiny of the human beings. And she also emphasized that we have to reduce carbon emission and we have to change our interest from profits to prevention of the earth. The speech ends with an analogy. Act as if our house is on fire, because it is. The speech was spoken in the International World Economic Forum, and which is very significant because it means that the government official allowed the 16-year-old girl to speak out her worries and concerns about the issues. The speech was indeed powerful, as her speeches are known to be. However, this led me to think a bit differently. Why did it take decades for the world, all human beings, to realize the urgency of the climate? And why did only a 16-year-old Swedish girl had to get the attention of the world, and no one had such impact before? There is something wrong about everything. What Thunberg says is obvious. For anyone besides global warming, conspiracy theorists will nod their head in agreements that actions and movements are needed to prevent the world from suffering. Yet, no one is willing to make a difference. The speech talked about many things, but emphasized only one thing. Sustainable development is something that is very hard to achieve, but it isn't an impossible task. Therefore, I would be conservative when it comes to policy making and repairing societal systems. But if it regards our survival as a species, I now know that it could be a different story then. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Now we only have 2 teams left for the last group. Next is Korea Forest Science High School.
Hello, I'm Kang Ha-eun from Korea Forest Science High School. I'll be presenting on the topic of climate change and our response to it. Thursday, the world climate change is accelerating, and I feel that it can no longer be ignored. Do you know exactly why climate change happens and how is it exist by our side? First of all, the causes of climate change are largely divided into the natural and artificial factors. As particles erupt into the upper atmosphere due to large amounts of carbon dioxide emissions, volcanic eruption and tectonic shifts, the necessary inflow of solar energy is blocked and can lead to lower global temperatures. This further affects the global climate by influencing natural climate systems in terms of reflecting excessive interaction on the Earth's surface, due to the loss of ice and desertification. The increase in greenhouse gas due to mankind's expensive use of fossil fuels is the most representative artificial factors as industrialization progress around the world. As a result, the composition of the atmosphere changed, attracting attention as a major composition of climate change. An example of the effects of this climate change is the 2019 Australian bushfire. The wildfires burned destroyed land roughly equivalent to about the size of Korea and lasted until the following spring, killing or displacing hundreds of millions of animals. The aerosol generated at this time was similar to the amount of aerosol generated during a volcanic eruption. Overall, the Australian bushfire had a significant impact on the plant and humanity. The large amount of greenhouse gas generated by these wildfires caused El Niño, an abnormally high temperatures phenomenon, whilst the aerosol caused La Niña, an abnormally low temperatures. First, individual efforts can be made to reduce carbon dioxide emissions through seemingly trivial daily actions, such as maintaining an appropriate indoor temperatures in the summer and carrying a tumbler. However, individual efforts alone cannot solve the problems of climate change, so I believe that world leaders should enact policies that truly benefit the environment. Governments should commit to policies that do not foster or invest in coal-related business at home and abroad, including coal power plants. Belgium has already implemented this in 2018, and most countries, including France and Portugal, have said that they will do the same before 2030. It's also not too late for Korea to implement aerosol policies for the sake of the planet, such as switching to renewable energy and stopping indiscriminate urban development. From now on, we will also listen to Uzbek students' opinions on climate change and response.
안녕하십니까? 저는 158학교 11학년생 속안입니다. 17살입니다. 우즈베키스탄의 환경 문제는 환경과 시민들의 보건에 심각한 위협이 되고 있습니다. 이러한 문제를 해결하기 위해 정부의 지원이 필요합니다. 그래서 우즈베키스탄 정부는 녹색경제 촉진을 위하여 우즈베키스탄 정부는 2019년부터 2030년까지 녹색경제로의 정한 전략을 채택했습니다. 이 전략은 에너지, 농업, 상업, 폐기물, 도시개발 등에 초점을 두고 있습니다. 그리고 에너지 효율 개선, 전력 사용량 절감, 온실가스 배출량 감독, 녹색 에너지 적극 보장, 녹색 일자리 창출 및 기후 산업성 보장을 목표로 합니다. 우즈베키스탄뿐만 아니라 중아시아 지역에 무포착감이 있습니다. 본 이슈 해결하기 위해 조수지 건설, 물 처리 및 재사용 시스템이 도움이 필요하고 효과적인 물 관리 방향을 구현하는 것이 중요하다고 생각합니다. 시민들은 농업을 많이 하고 있어서 토양 손실 같은 문제가 생기기 시작합니다. 유기농법, 유기비료 사용 등 지속 가능한 농업 방향은 채택합니다. 도움이 될 수 있다고 생각합니다. 마지막으로 기후 변화에 있어서 폐기물 처리 대안 문제도 중요하다고 봅니다. 산업 폐기물 처리 시스템을 도입하고 재활용 재료 사용을 종료하는 등 재활용 시스템을 개발해야 합니다. 제 생각에는 환경 문제가 있어서 정부 정량도 중요하지만 시민들의 역할도 중요하다고 봅니다. 기술적 조치뿐만 아니라 환경 재경환과 자연 정원의 지속이 가능한 사용을 축적하기 위한 교육적, 사회적 역할이 포함하는 포괄적인 접근법이 필요합니다.
In preparing for this presentation, I was reminded of the seriousness of climate change and the need for the youth to strive to be global citizens who are interested in and committed to our plans and by extension our future survival by exploring all options to combat climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now on the final team for today. I know she has waited all day long to be on the stage at this time, so why don't we give her with a warm greetings.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I am Hayoung-gang, a first-year student at Sanyang Middle School. Before starting my presentation, I have a question for you. Where do you think the most famous place for apples is? Daegu? Yeongcheon? Yes, that's right. As you mentioned, most areas in North Gyeongsang Province are major apple-producing areas. Mungyang, where I live, is also known for its apples and even hosts an apple festival every October. We often go apple picking as a school activity. But this year, I heard some surprising news during the trip. What do you think it was? Do you know what these marked areas on the map represent? Let's listen to an interview and make some guesses.
60년대 이제 한 초반부터는 대구 경산 쪽에가 이제 아주 사가 적게 있었는데, 이제 저서 올라오다 보니까 지금은 이제 위에 문경 지방도 기온 변화가 좀 이래가지고 아주 좋다고 할 수는 없어요. 그 대구 북쪽으로 올라가야 되는데, 그래 돼요. 그래서 이제 전문가들의 얘기를 들어보면은 경기도 북쪽에나 안 그러면 강원도 이제 평창이나 이런 데가 이제 적기가 되는 기라 지금은요.
Now, you might understand what these marked areas mean. They show that apple cultivation area are gradually moving northwards. Recent data shows a 34% decrease in apple cultivation in North Gyeongsang Province over the last 30 years. However, Gangwon Province has increased by 3.8 times. It seems that soon the apple cultivation areas in North Gyeongsang Province might become smaller than in Gangwon Province. So, what has caused the decrease in apple cultivation in North Gyeongsang Province? Let's listen to another interview.
날씨가 좀 안 맞아요, 여기는. 날이 산산하고 비도 조금 들어오고 그래야 되는데 너무 따갑잖아, 햇빛이. 너무 덥고.
According to the interview, rising temperature have had an impact. This graph shows the temperature change in Mungyang over the past 30 years. As you can see, the average temperature has increased from 11 degrees to 12.5 degrees over the last 2 decades. This exceeded the ideal average annual temperature for apple cultivation, which is between 8 to 11 degrees. In conclusion, global warming and ongoing temperature rise have made North Gyeongsang province less suitable for apple cultivation.
But is temperature change the only factor affecting our apple cultivation? Are there other factors? Let's listen to another interview.
비가 하도 많이 오니까 벌거지들도 많고 병도 많고 올해가 최고 많이 그랬죠. 사과도 한 절반밖에 안 나오고 그에 비해서.
그렇게 이제 올해는 비가 좀 많이 오고 약을 쳐도 이제 비가 많이 왔으니까 이제 방제가 잘 안 됐어요.
This year was specially affected by rainfall, as the interview suggests. Here is the data related to rainfall and rainy days for the past 20 years. The number of rainy days hasn't changed much from previous years. However, there has been a significant increase in total rainfall, suggesting more frequent heavy rains. This photo, taken by a student from our school, shows the stream next to our school. A stream that rarely overflowed in the past flooded due to heavy rains this year, forcing nearby residents to evacuate. Heavy rainfall is also a result of ongoing global warming. As temperatures rise, evaporation increases, leading to more water vapor in the atmosphere and consequently more frequent heavy rains. In this situation, how long will we be able to enjoy delicious apples from North Gyeongsang province?
50년은 내가 볼 수가 없죠. 앞으로는 이제 그게 모르지요. 뭐 어떻게 될란지, 기후변화가 어떻게 될는지. 그래 이제 온도가 전부 다 이제 점점 올라가니까 열대야가 되니까.
Assuming an average temperature rise of 4.5 degrees in the Korean Peninsula by 2100, the apple cultivation area is expected to change as shown in this picture. There might come a day when, like mangoes and other tropical fruits, we will have to import apples from other countries. So, what efforts are being made to protect apples in the face of this climate change? First, the government is working to develop apple varieties suited to local conditions, especially as higher temperatures make it harder to turn apples red. A yellow apple variety named Golden Ball is being promoted, and North Gyeongsang province is planning special zones for Golden Ball. Next, I'd like to introduce the carbon neutral activities our school is doing. Firstly, we have our school's environmental club, Greenies. The club organizes programs like tending the school garden and the Earth's Hour program. Secondly, every student in our school writes an environmental diary noting daily actions for the environment. While preparing for this forum, I realized that climate change is not just happening in faraway countries. It is closely affecting our lives. Finally, I'd like to conclude our presentation with these words. I have a dream that one day our children still will be able to enjoy delicious apples from our land. Thank you for listening.
That was a great presentation. Okay, the floor is open for everybody for question. Anyone? Yes. Question, please.
I'd like to question to Osang High School. It was a great presentation. I'd like to ask, how can individuals contribute to achieving SDG 13 in their daily lives, and what are some practical steps they can take to reduce their carbon footprint?
Okay. All right. Answers, please.
The steps we individuals can take to contribute to SDG 13 in our daily lives and reduce our carbon footprint are not grandiose. Set summer air conditioning 1 degree higher and winter heating 1 degree lower, faithfully recycle, use eco-friendly products, reduce shower times, or use public transportation. Nothing more, nothing less. If everyone feels like they are just another one, it won't lead to a solution. We have to face the fact that we don't have any more time. The second Earth does not exist. Right now, we have to change our daily lives to pay off the debt we owe the planet. That's all for my answer. Thank you for your question.
Okay, do we have more questions? Anyone else? Yes, please. You can turn on your microphone. There's a button.
Hi, I'm Lee Jong-hwan from Osang High School. I have a question to Osang High School related to Goal 13. What role do businesses play in addressing climate change, and how can they align their practices with SDG 13 to promote sustainable development and environmental responsibility?
Okay, who can answer that question? Okay.
Companies can invest in renewable energy sources such as wind, solar, and hydropower as a way to reduce their carbon footprint. In fact, companies such as Tesla, Apple, and Google have invested significantly in renewable energy. Companies can also make efforts such as producing lobby-free products, converting plastic buffers into paper ones, and collecting empty bottles to promote sustainable development and environmental responsibility. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have a few more minutes to have that Q&A session. Yes, here. We do have a question from Gyeongbuk Science High School. Can somebody please pass the microphone over here? The second row from the front.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, all of you. And I have a question to the Sanyang Middle School. I really have been watching the presentation very interestingly since you guys were talking about the apple. And if you guys can tell me more about the fruits that we have to keep eyes on about the climate change, can you recommend us to think about it?
Anyone? So that question towards the Sanyang Middle School presenters. Yes. And feel free to answer the question in Korean. Okay, we are still waiting for Sanyang Middle School to answer the question. Anybody? Yes, please go ahead.
사과 외에 배나 자두 같은 과일이 있을 것 같아요. 더 자세한 설명을 못해서 죄송합니다.
네. 네, 뭐 그 정도도 충분할 것 같습니다. 아마 직접 농사를 짓는 농부가 아니기 때문에 네, 아주 잘 대답해 줬습니다. We really appreciate that. Okay, one last question. Anyone? Yes, over there.
Hi, I'm Lee Yun from Osang High School, and I have a question to Osang High School. What ways can governments and policymakers implement effective climate action strategies to meet the targets set by SDG 13? And what policy measures are essential for mitigating the impact of climate change on a global scale?
Okay, please answer the question.
In order to achieve the goal of SDG as strengthening counter climate change, the government can emphasize realistic applications by enacting policies such as carbon neutrality for responding to the climate crisis, which aimed to limit temperature rise through international climate agreements such as the Paris Agreement in 2016. In addition, I believe that the government will use social media and the news to promote public and global awareness to mitigate the impact of climate change. Thank you.
That was a great answer too. Well, thank you so much for your presentation, and we really appreciate your hard work and presentation that you have shared with us. And also, we are grateful for all the teachers who have supported the students. Thank you so much. Well, all the messages you have shared today really give us great hope for the future climate action and sustaining on the land. So the message that everyone has shared really touched, and we really hope that things will get better. Okay, well, this marks the end of today, 2023 경상북도 Office of Education Global Citizenship Education International Youth Forum. Thank you everyone for your hard participation.